Chapter 835. The primal chaos source chi that everyone dreamed of was perfectly presented in front of Su Yan's eyes. He saw an endless abyss that rippled with peerless demonic fluctuations. It was as if it had swallowed billions of lives. It was peerlessly terrifying. This scene was rather sacred. The abyss spewed out vast amounts of primal chaos essence. It was hard to imagine how exuberant the power of primal chaos was. There were even waves that splashed out. This was the king of primal chaos, the source of primal chaos source chi. How could Su Yan not be shocked when he saw such a peerless material that even powerful beings would have to bow when they saw it? Even when he looked at the abyss from afar, he could feel that there was a giant chaotic dragon that had been sleeping for millions of years buried in the abyss. Could this be? Su Yan was aghast. Could this be the legendary primal chaos dragon vein? If it really was the primal chaos dragon vein, its value was enough to make peak races fight to the death. Who wouldn't want to take it for themselves? The legendary primal chaos dragon vein had appeared in the chaos ruins before. However, such a vigorous primal chaos dragon vein had an unimaginable value. The cultivation of the deity realm was related to primal chaos energy. If one could control a primal chaos dragon vein, such an opportunity would be hard to come by. It was no wonder primal chaos source chi was born here. Places with primal chaos dragon veins had a chance of producing primal chaos source chi. He never imagined that he would find a complete primal chaos dragon vein in this land of death. If such a terrifying amount of wealth was grasped by a race, it would naturally benefit the entire race for a long time. Did we strike it rich? Su Yan tried his best to calm his excited heart. Everything had yet to come to an end. It was hard to say if he could obtain the primal chaos source chi. Could this land of good fortune really be left unguarded? They stood at the edge of the altar. There were many corpses here, and it was hard to tell. Su Yan had used 7 days and 7 nights to transmigrate here. It was hard to imagine the grandeur of the blood altar. Standing here, they were just too tiny. Big brother, look. This person looks similar to Luo Tiandu. De Li's eyes were sharp. He looked around at the corpses and suddenly discovered a tall man who was as thin as a bag of bones. He looked similar to Luo Tiandu. He was lying on the vast blood sacrificial altar. He was tiny like a speck of dust that could turn into a pile of ashes at any moment. Su Yan glanced over and frowned. Luo Tiandu is still alive. Look at the corpse, he's clearly dead. Just as Su Yan finished speaking, the skin and bones clearly moved. This made Su Yan shocked. Could it be that this creature was still alive? However, Su Yan clearly could not detect any signs of life. Could it be because of the uniqueness of the heavenly art? Following that, Bag of Bones' movements became even more violent. He was struggling, resisting, and trying to get up, but he didn't have the slightest bit of strength. He looks like he's in pain. De Li, send him on his way. Just as Su Yan's words fell, the skinny man suddenly opened his withered eyes and let out a beast-like roar. I'm still alive. Big brother, he really seems to be Luo Tiandu. Luo De Li was shocked. However, they really felt that Luo Tiandu was dead. His life spring had dried up and there were no signs of life at all. Luo Tiandu's withered eyes noticed Luo De Li. He was agitated and could not forget this peerless general who had once rejected him. He seemed to be especially agitated. He was so agitated that he was about to cry. He lifted his withered hands with all his strength and said with a trembling voice, "Quickly, quickly pull me out." His voice was intermittent, but soon another weak voice followed. There's still me." Beside Luo Tiandu, there was another skinny man who was almost indistinguishable. Clearly, he was King Flash. Su Yan was amazed. He did not expect them to be able to endure until now and survive in the blood altar. Su Yan guessed that they had peerless secret treasures on them. They were indeed worthy of being Ingjie of the two peak tribes. Luo Tiandu and King Flash originally thought that their time was up and they were just sitting there waiting for death. The most hateful thing was that the primal chaos source Qi was right in front of them, but they could not go and collect it. It was a tragedy. In their desperate situation, they did not expect that someone from the outside would barge in. King Flash was especially agitated. His withered body was trembling, and he was so agitated that he wanted to roar. "Big brother, what should we do about King Flash?" Luo Dali muttered. "Kill him." Su Yan pondered for a while and said, "Just kill him. I'm not familiar with King Flash anyway." "Damn you!" King Flash actually cried. His withered chest heaved up and down violently as he roared, "I have money. Don't kill me. I have money. I have no grudges. Save me first." Luo Tiandu saw hope and his words were no longer stuttering. He was very agitated. "What price can you pay?" Su Yan smiled as he opened his mouth. The conflict between him and the Lightning King was not essential. They were not life and death enemies. At this moment, he asked with interest. Luo Tiandu was very angry. He wanted to leave the Devil's Den urgently. He really could not hold on any longer. Even a second's delay would put him in danger of death. King Flash was speechless for a moment. He did not know how to answer, but he quickly said with a trembling voice, "I can give you 3,000 pounds of primal chaos source Qi. Kill him. You're treating me like a beggar." Su Yan was furious. F***ck. King Flash cursed in his heart. 3,000 pounds of primal chaos source Qi to treat a beggar? Even the Divine King would go crazy if he saw such wealth. Lightning said with a sad face, "What do you want? Can you save me first? Don't worry, the reward will not be too little." Luo Tiandu also wanted to say, "There's still me. What do I want?" Su Yan frowned and thought. He really had to think about it carefully. This scene made the two of them want to get up and fight Su Yan. Luo Tiandu said directly, "I can give you a strand of Imperial Draconic Qi. Only the dragon veins of the Daluo dynasty can nourish this kind of primal Qi." Su Yan was moved. It was definitely not inferior to supreme-grade primal chaos source Qi. It was even more amazing. Once swallowed, it could nourish the body and even nurture Imperial Draconic Qi. Luo Dali scratched his head. It was not good to take advantage of the situation, and it was his future brother-in-law, however. It seemed that Luo Tiandu had taken the initiative to ask. Su Yan could not refuse his kindness. "I'll give you 2 strands of supreme-grade primal Qi." King Flash gritted his teeth and said. When they saw Su Yan still hesitating, they had the urge to kill him. However, Su Yan was the boss now. They had no choice but to lower their heads and offer many benefits. "You're lucky, Luo Tiandu." Su Yan swung his sleeves and shook out a few dozen drops of primal chaos liquid. He sprinkled them on Luo Tiandu's withered body. Luo Tiandu's cracked body was nourished and he roared in excitement. There was nothing better than replenishing energy. They were lucky to be alive. They happened to find the safe passage, but they did not dare to wander around. If Su Yan did not come, they would be exhausted to death. The safe passage was not really safe. There was also a kind of devouring power, but it was not as much as in other areas. "Roar, ha ha!" Luo Dali shouted excitedly, breathing heavily. He was alive, alive. Me, and me." King Flash opened his mouth and made a humiliating gesture. The great King Flash, the strongest person in the Divine Firmament Star Zone, kept his mouth open, hoping that Su Yan would give him some primal chaos liquid. Luo Dali wanted to laugh. In this situation of collapse, there was really nothing better than being alive. Luo Tiandu is a real man. I don't doubt his words. Su Yan's reply almost made King Flash explode in anger. F***ck, so I'm not a real man? I'm going back on my words. Su Yan forced the Lightning King to make a series of vicious O's. This caused the Lightning King to be so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He really wanted to know who this little fellow who was tightly wrapped in stone armor was. Could it be that he did not know his identity? He was the strongest person in a peak clan. However, when a part of the primal chaos liquid's energy essence nourished his cracked body, King Flash laughed crazily. He was alive. He could live. Let's leave quickly. Luo Tiandu no longer wanted to come back. He recovered some strength and said with a trembling voice, "Don't go any further." Previously, the Divine King barged in to harvest the primal chaos liquid, but he died inside. Su Yan was moved. From the looks of it, the two of them were not the only ones who had survived. There were other experts who had barged in and risked their lives to harvest the primal chaos liquid. The Divine King's tragic death made them not dare approach. They could only wait for death to claim them. If they took another step forward, it would be an endless abyss. Billions of primal chaos heavenly essence surged upwards, accompanied by primal chaos liquid. This undulating scene contained a great danger. However, there was another opportunity. How could Su Yan give it up so easily? De Li, take them away. Su Yan lowered his head and bellowed, "Return the way we came. Don't come back." Su Yan was also worried that other unforeseen events would occur. Furthermore, he had a powerful weapon protecting him. The dragon totem had never awakened. Su Yan believed that even if there was a great danger, the dragon totem's strength was enough to open a door for Su Yan to escape. And most importantly, since Luo Tiandu and company had survived and lasted for so long, it meant that no one was guarding the Chaos Dragon vein. Su Yan was prepared to give it a try. If it really didn't work, he would choose to give up. He wouldn't force it if he couldn't obtain it. Luo Tiandu still wanted to say something, but for Su Yan to be able to barge in unscathed, he naturally had something extraordinary about him. He didn't say anything else. King Flash grumbled. If Su Yan really died here, wouldn't he not need to give out the promised treasures? This fellow is really courting death. I reckon that even if a half-step Almighty were to come, he would still have a grievance. King Flash coldly snorted in his heart. He was both grateful and hateful towards this savior of his. He really didn't want Su Yan to obtain the primal chaos source chi. Who knew what kind of freak the primal chaos source chi could create? Big brother, you have to be careful. I'll be back soon. De Li only hesitated for a moment before clenching his teeth and saying. He was well aware of Su Yan's identity and background. If he didn't take the risk, his chances of contending with the Supremes in the future would be slim. Even if he could surpass them, the price he would have to pay would be even greater. And the primal chaos source chi was right in front of him. Why not take the risk? You must not release any killing intent towards it. Otherwise, it will cause the primal chaos to roar and the abyss to rage. Even if the Divine King were to come, he would still have a grievance. Luo Tiandu warned Su Yan before he left. Su Yan stared at the abyss. The abyss was right in front of him, and it was filled with a demonic aura that could devour billions of lives. Su Yan was just facing the abyss, but his back was drenched in cold sweat. He really couldn't force his way in here. Su Yan suddenly sat down cross-legged. His battle body glowed and became extremely resplendent. His treasured body rumbled on its own. The most primitive fluctuations that originated from his body were flowing. It was as if the universe source chi was burning. When this most primitive power began to gush out from within, Su Yan erupted. Myriad Daos rumbled as he stood in the extreme domain. He forcefully caused the primal chaos source chi floating in the primal chaos source chi to tremble. Ha ha ha! Su Yan laughed loudly. His waterfall-like hair danced in the wind. He couldn't step into the abyss, but he could attract the primal chaos source chi. Back then, Su Yan had cultivated on the immortal planet for 100 years. His body was suffused with the thick aura of the immortal planet. The blood domain had drifted out from the primal chaos ruins. Su Yan had once confirmed that the primal chaos ruins were the immortal planet of the past. Chapter 836. No matter what the origin of this land of death was, Su Yen could cause the primal chaos source gas to tremble. In that case, would it still be a problem for him to obtain it? Su Yen had stayed at the peak of the great Tao realm for a little too long. The battle blood in his body started to boil, and his entire treasure body shone brilliantly. He looked solemn and dignified, surging with the light of 10,000 daos. His peerless foundation started to climb steadily. When Su Yen truly stood at the peak, his aura was completely different. It was as if he carried 10,000 daos on his back, projecting 10,000 layers of light of the Great Tao, containing a rather terrifying power of the Great Tao. When Su Yen raised his hands and feet, the space would sink and release loud sounds. His strength was really abnormal. After accumulating to this extent, Su Yen couldn't suppress the potential that was about to penetrate through the godly spirit domain. He could easily injure himself. When Su Yen stood at the peak state, he released a terrifying light, causing the primal chaos source gas that leaped out from the abyss to tremble on its own. "Come out!" Su Yen let out a low roar, releasing a powerful suction force, causing the primal chaos source gas to glow. It seemed like it would leave the primal chaos dragon vein and rush toward Su Yen. However, no matter how strong the suction force that Su Yen released was, the boundless abyss was like a demon's den that had once buried billions of lives. It was faintly covered with a layer of supreme pressure that suppressed the entire abyss. Su Yen's mind was tense. There was a kind of power in the abyss that affected the matter of the entire abyss. He didn't know how this land of death was born, but the great fortune inside wasn't something that could be taken away easily. Su Yen felt that there was definitely something hidden in the abyss that suppressed the primal chaos source gas. Perhaps even if a major figure came, they wouldn't be able to easily take away the primal chaos source gas. Although this thing could only be awakened to the strongest effect when a great Tao realm cultivator ascended to the godly spirit domain, the essence of primal chaos, the source of primal chaos, was attractive even to major figures. It was an astonishing temptation to the three great domains of the godly spirit realm. Who would easily let go of such an opportunity? Su Yen wasn't anxious. He tried many ways and was careful. In the end, Su Yen confirmed that there was no guardian in the abyss. He could be at ease and boldly seize the primal chaos source gas. "I should be able to succeed if I give it a try." Su Yen took a deep breath. His body was resplendent and blazing. 10,000 rays of light surged from within his body. He was divine to the extreme. Of course, he was also exceptionally powerful. In the blink of an eye, the space between Su Yan's eyebrows became bright and translucent. It released a grand and peerless airflow that seemed to cover the sky. It was also wrapped in a thick aura of time and history. It was as if the end of the long river of time had split open between Su Yan's eyebrows. That was an imprint, erupting like lightning, becoming brilliant from indistinct, igniting from nothingness. Even a corner of the blood altar was trembling. That was the imprint of the immortal planet. It had once returned to this world and collided with the great Tao of Earth, giving birth to a new crystal. It contained a vague radiance that could suppress the universe. Tao. Whoosh. The light projected by the mark shone on the primal chaos source gas. The primal chaos essence gushing out from the abyss began to tremble. It began to flow in reverse uncontrollably. Su Yen was overjoyed. He could feel that the primal chaos source gas was flowing in reverse. It shook the universe. The energy it contained was quite heavy. It was like a giant primal chaos mountain that was glowing. It was enough to see how powerful the primal chaos source gas was. It flowed in reverse, shook off the seal of the abyss, and was about to rush towards the blood altar. The corners of Su Yan's mouth were so wide that they reached his ears. The treasure that everyone dreamed of was about to flow into his body. However, just as the primal chaos source gas was about to rush out of the abyss, his expression changed. The endless abyss trembled violently. There were faint traces of life appearing. There's someone. Su Yan's scalp went numb. His eyes began to look at the endless abyss. The primal chaos below was thick and surging. He couldn't see the scene in the abyss. But just as the primal chaos source gas was about to leave the abyss, a coffin as heavy as the heavens appeared in the abyss. It was supported by the primal chaos source gas, and was about to rush out of the abyss. Su Yan felt a headache coming on. There was a giant blood-red coffin below. Could there be some kind of living being buried inside? The blood-red coffin covered in mysterious symbols began to tremble. The entire abyss shook with it. At this moment, it was as if a great dam had burst open in the sea of primal chaos and was about to drown the entire blood altar. In a single exchange, Su Yan was about to be destroyed in body and soul. Roar! He roared into the sky. His long black hair danced in the wind. His aura soared to the peak. Su Yan didn't hesitate. He wanted to retreat and leave the blood altar. However, the blood-red coffin that floated out from the abyss also emitted a terrifying suppressive strength. It suppressed Su Yan's body, causing him to feel as if he was struck by lightning. His entire body was about to explode. Bastard! Su Yan's eyes widened. He was extremely anxious in his heart. He had to retreat. Otherwise, he would definitely encounter a calamity. He even saw the blood-red coffin tremble more intensely. The supreme existence sleeping within was probably waking up. During this process, the pressure continued to rise. Su Yan's pores were spurting blood, and his entire body was about to explode. It was also at this moment that Su Yan's aura soared to the strongest domain. A blurry sea of primal chaos appeared behind him. It was grand and peerless, but it seemed to exist in another space and time. It couldn't manifest its true form. In the vast primal chaos, it seemed to pass through time and space. One after another, blurry figures appeared in the primal chaos. They came from the primal chaos. When they entered the primal chaos, only their rough outlines could be seen. This was Su Yan's physique phenomenon. He had always been unable to break through the natural phenomenon emitted by his physique. However, in this dangerous situation where he was about to be crushed, the sea of primal chaos that floated in another space and time roared fiercely. Those supreme figures seemed to have walked out from prehistoric times and traversed the vast primal chaos. At this moment, Su Yan clearly sensed that these imprints, were about to return from their slumber. However, Su Yan realized that his strength wasn't strong enough to activate the energy hidden in these imprints. The next moment, the sea of primal chaos shook violently, and the scene inside became clear again. Su Yan turned pale with shock. In the blurry primal chaos, he saw a mysterious object floating at the end of the primal chaos. Moreover, those supreme humanoid imprints were facing the mysterious object. This mysterious object was also extremely blurry, but Su Yan could still see that this object was very similar to the Snow Mountain Dragon coffin. When this mysterious Snow Mountain Dragon coffin appeared from the primal chaos, wisps of indescribably terrifying power of time appeared. It seemed to pierce through reincarnation and recreate the universe, emitting a terrifying brilliance. Bang! In an instant, the floating blood-red coffin in the abyss trembled. The coffin bled and suffered heavy injuries. It rolled in the primal chaos dragon vein and even sank into the endless abyss. What was this? This caused Su Yan to find it hard to believe. His body's mysterious phenomenon contained some shocking imprint. However, when the Snow Mountain Dragon coffin appeared, it forcefully shook the scarlet coffin until it bled and sank into the deep abyss. Su Yan thought he was seeing things. This was because he heard ghostly cries. It was vague and distant, as if it came from the blood-red coffin. Could there be a person buried inside? Accompanying the primal chaos dragon vein, living through epochs after epoch of the universe? After all, this sort of supreme land of good fortune could really suppress the lifespan of a powerhouse, allowing them to live for endless years. Just thinking about it made one realize the value of the primal chaos dragon vein. It wasn't just because of the energy. Just how strong is the energy contained in these imprints? Who left them behind? Could it be that after I slept in the Snow Mountain Dragon coffin for 60 years, I was contaminated with its aura? But this aura is too strong. There is an astonishing strength that can shake away the abyss coffin. Su Yen pondered. For the ancestral hall to spend so many years searching for this heavenly coffin, it definitely wasn't ordinary. Just by encountering pressure, the imprints automatically awakened and repelled the blood-red coffin in the abyss. It had to be said that Su Yan's body contained a treasure trove that was difficult to exploit. Perhaps one day in the future, he would be able to grasp this boundless treasure trove. This bizarre experience had actually broken through the structure of the abyss. Rumble! Su Yan, who was deep in thought, was startled by a loud noise. He looked into the distance and saw streams of primal chaos origin gas gushing out from the abyss. They flowed out in reverse, and each stream was shaped like a giant wave of primal chaos. They surged forward with great momentum and contained a gravity that could crush the starry skies. They rushed out, leaving the abyss and rushing towards Su Yan. Good fortune has come, ha 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 ha. Su Yan's emotions surged. He suddenly stood up and roared, "It's all mine." His chest violently heaved up and down as if he had swallowed the entire void. Su Yan forcefully swallowed the 3 streams of primal chaos origin gas that flowed in reverse. "I'm going to break through." Su Yan laughed loudly. The 3 streams of primal chaos origin gas were like 3 primal chaos suns. When they were swallowed into his stomach, Su Yan's flesh shell was so bright that it was about to explode. Because they were too heavy, Su Yan directly swallowed 3 streams of primal chaos origin gas. This made Su Yan's body show signs of being unable to endure it. What kind of concept was this? How strong was Su Yan's body? However, even someone as strong as him almost couldn't suppress the primal chaos origin gas. This meant that even if he grasped the primal chaos origin gas, he might not be able to refine it. However, Su Yan's body was strong enough. Under the stimulation of the primal chaos origin gas, his battle physique erupted. The moment it fused with the primal chaos origin gas, all his potential resonated and burned fiercely, opening a vast door to the God realm. He ignited all his great Tao foundations, released the strongest great Tao heavenly power, and began to leap into the God realm. This was the carp leaping over the dragon gate, becoming a great Tao divine dragon. Of course, with the primal chaos origin gas as a bridge, the height of the leap would be incomparably terrifying. It paved a grand and wide great Tao divine path. Just as Su Yan began to break through to the God realm, a group of terrifying figures appeared at the edge of the blood altar. Zhu Fu and the others had arrived. The Han family's old grandmaster had come out of the mountain. With a hunched back, he led them towards the depths of the blood altar. Chapter 837. Deity Realm. This heavenly hurdle could not be said to be difficult, but could not be said to be easy either. Once one had accumulated enough experience in the great Tao realm, they would be qualified to break through to the immortal level and receive the baptism of the chaotic aura. During this process, one naturally had to have an absolute foundation in the great Tao realm. However, source qi was indispensable. Only by fusing with the source qi of all things could one's physical body and energy possess astonishing potential. Only then could one evolve into an even stronger great Tao divine power when breaking through to the immortal level. A person's cultivation was closely related to this universe. This was a super powerful evolution from a human to a god. The process was naturally quite astonishing. No matter which galaxy immortals were in, they couldn't be underestimated. They were all elites of the universe, existences who had the qualifications to roam the vast universe. A great evolution would naturally change the original nature of cultivation, allowing one to possess great Tao divine power. This was a completely different concept from the great Tao realm. And the stronger one was, the more they would accumulate. Then, it would be enough to shock the world in the immortal level. However, Su Yan had now obtained the chaotic source qi, which was known as the strongest source qi in the world. Once this substance paved the great Tao of immortals, then Su Yan would evolve to an astonishing level. His strength would soar exponentially. Of course, this process wasn't so easy. It also depended on the strength of the source qi. And with the chaotic source qi as the source qi, it was like a giant tree of chaos had been planted in Su Yan's body. At the moment when it was truly fused with him, even Su Yan's soul was trembling. Boom! His entire body's energy resonated. Blazing flames filled the sky, and his entire physical body was about to burn. At the moment when the chaotic source qi and Su Yan fused into one, Su Yan was really about to explode. The source qi was really freakish, causing Su Yan's physical body to dry up. This caused Su Yan to be astonished. This meant that the chaotic source qi was too freakish. In an instant, it was about to drain Su Yan's physical body dry. This was a sign that the fusion was about to fail. Boom! However, Su Yan's declining aura skyrocketed once again. His inner universe was burning, and the majestic aura of 10,000 Daos appeared spontaneously, enriching the myriad avatars. Su Yan's unparalleled potential was being released, gushing out, and fusing with the chaotic source qi. With Su Yan's great Tao foundation, only the primal chaos origin qi could transform all Daos and evolve the great Tao's divine power. He had swallowed 3 mouthfuls of primal chaos source qi. Su Yan's fleshly body seemed to contain a primal chaos ci. When it glowed and heated up, it swallowed all Daos and Su Yan's blood essence. This was a process that he had to go through. He had to use his own energy to plant himself in the primal chaos source qi. In the end, the primal chaos source qi would nurture a new energy substance and feed it back to Su Yan's main body. This would allow him to step into the realm of deities and complete this terrifying great evolution. Since ancient times, how many elites had been able to fuse with the primal chaotic source qi? Although the process was painful, and he was facing the threat of death at any time, Su Yan was still laughing loudly. His body that was about to wither continued to glow as he began to absorb the primal chaotic source liquid to replenish his losses. The primal chaos liquid was the essence refined from the primal chaos energy. It was of great help to the cultivation of the godly realm, and it was essential for the evolution of the godly realm. Of course, the primal chaos liquid on Su Yan was very limited. It was not enough to complete the evolution. However, just the replenishment of 100 drops of primal chaos liquid had already caused Su Yan's withered fleshly body to glow countless times brighter. Moreover, the primal chaos ci that was growing began to expand as it absorbed the energy of the primal chaos liquid. The primal chaos ci was equivalent to Su Yan's life spring. It encompassed all Daos and Su Yan's essence, energy, and spirit. During the process of breaking through, as long as the primal chaos ci transformed into a vast ocean that covered Su Yan's entire body, the transformation would be complete. The evolution process was slow and terrifying. Su Yan was also comprehending all Daos. They were thinking about the evolution of the primal chaos great Tao. This was extremely important to Su Yan's mastery of Daos and laws. This was using the strongest primal chaos source qi in the world to reproduce all Daos. Just this opportunity alone was hard to come by. After half a day, the 100 drops of primal chaos liquid were exhausted. The primal chaos ci that had grown much stronger once again erupted with devouring power, causing Su Yan's withered fleshly body to tremble violently. It's not enough. I can only take it from here. Su Yan grinned. The reason why he had chosen to break through here despite being unprepared was because of the primal chaos dragon vein. With this in hand, there was no need for the primal chaos liquid. The primal chaos Ci floating in his body lit up. This was condensed from primal chaos source Chi, and could be considered the mother of primal chaos. Once it emitted an attractive force, the primal chaos heavenly essence that spewed out from the abyss began to roar out uncontrollably. It was like a raging wave, surging violently as it charged towards the blood altar and drowned Su Yen. Su Yen laughed heartily. Even the divine king of a pinnacle race didn't receive such treatment. He was absorbing the essence of the primal chaos dragon vein. The primal chaos heavenly essence contained extremely exuberant primal chaos powers. Admittedly, such a direct bath caused Su Yan's withered body to feel a piercing pain. It was as though the primal chaos was being torn apart. However, using the primal chaos Ci to draw in the primal chaos heavenly essence and transform it into rich primal chaos aura, not only did it nourish the primal chaos Ci, but it also leaked out and nourished Su Yan's body. The substance that had been refined by the primal chaos Ci was even compatible with Su Yan's energy form. It could directly nourish Su Yan's body. This was the power of the primal chaos heavenly essence. Now, Su Yan's withered body was being nourished by a small amount of the primal chaos heavenly essence. This process was extremely terrifying. After all, this was a major evolution. With Su Yan's body foundation at the Great Tao realm, it would definitely evolve to a heaven-defying level. When the time came for his unparalleled divine body to erupt, Su Yan's combat strength would soar by a large margin. In the past, when facing Sky God realm experts, he needed the immortal Iron Staff to fight them. However, once Su Yan stepped into the deity realm, the outcome would be completely different. It wouldn't be difficult for him to kill Sky Gods. Although the three domains of the deity realm were like ascending to the heavens with each step, it wasn't difficult for a deity realm expert to kill a Sky God. Of course, for a deity realm expert to kill a divine king? Even if the three heavenly supremes joined forces, it would be a fool's dream to kill a divine king without the help of any external objects. How could a divine king be easily destroyed? Even a peerless genius wouldn't be able to do so. Only with all kinds of supreme treasures could one slay a divine king. A bronze cauldron hung above Su Yan's head and shone. The cosmic cauldron opened, and the world inside the cauldron called itself the universe. Su Yan used the primal chaos heavenly essence to draw out the primal chaos heavenly essence that spewed out from the abyss and used the cosmic cauldron to collect it. Although he had a large amount of essence from the demon quartz dragon vein, it naturally couldn't compare to the essence of the primal chaos dragon vein. However, the cosmic cauldron couldn't absorb it all at once. Even if the primal chaos heavenly essence could be absorbed, there was a limit. Su Yan even thought that if he squatted at the blood altar for a year and a half and collected a large amount of primal chaos heavenly essence, he could even gather cultivation resources for Sky God realm experts, let alone deity realm experts. Time passed. After the first day, Su Yan's cultivation reached an extremely important juncture. His body was still withered, but his physique had already transformed into a divine physique. At the same time, Su Yan's mind sank into the strengthened primal chaos Ci. The divine sound of the great Tao resounded inside, and thousands of great Taos evolved in all kinds of forms. The great Tao fluctuations that emanated became denser and denser. The transformation of the great Tao allowed it to leap towards a higher realm. Su Yan was silent during this process. He deduced thousands of techniques, and his realm domain continued to climb. He was silent in the myriad Tao for 3 days and 3 nights. It had to be said that the primal chaos heavenly essence was freakish. It perfectly presented the great Tao, and every great Tao was deduced to a perfect level. Wonderful! Su Yan was amazed. Just based on his current cultivation, he could be considered freakish in the deity realm. With the myriad Tao evolved by the primal chaos heavenly essence, Su Yan's grasp of the great Tao was equivalent to being reborn from the ashes. His withered body emitted boundless life force flames. The great Tao's aura also became heavier. It was like a great Tao abyss that stood between the heaven and earth. It spewed out primal chaos, heavenly essence, and emitted the light of the myriad Tao. Under the circulation of the primal chaos Ci, the myriad Tao's powers fused into one. It vaguely felt like it was rushing to the peak of the firmament, penetrating the chaos. After 4 days and 4 nights of seclusion, Su Yan's body was filled with incomparable great Tao divine powers. Once it was released, he could definitely produce peerless combat strength that could suppress the great Tao. The primal chaos Ci absorbed even faster. Primal chaos heavenly essence entered his body as though thousands of primal chaos dragons were returning to the Ci. The Ci stored astounding divine powers, causing Su Yan's source of life to increase by several times. Su Yan had already completed the first step of a terrifying transformation. "Danger is coming," Su Yan muttered. His body was withered, and his divine powers had been extracted, returning to the primal chaos Ci. Now it was time to reverse the process. There was a certain level of danger involved. However, he did not know how dangerous it was to use the primal chaos heavenly essence as a source chi. Boom! A dull explosion sounded, as though it was the myriad Tao's divine sound from the birth of the universe. Su Yan's withered body emitted a torrential divine light. This was the eruption of the primal chaos Ci. He was like an inextinguishable blazing sun that spewed out great Tao heavenly light. Furthermore, he directly interweaved great Tao divine chains that instantly covered Su Yan's withered body. Although it was his Tao and Dharma, Su Yan's body was experiencing the reverse process. It was as though he was enduring the assault of billions of great Tao. Su Yan's body convulsed as cracks appeared on his withered body. This reverse process was extremely difficult for him to withstand. His body felt like it was about to explode. "Ah!" Su Yan roared angrily. If not for his body being sufficiently robust, he would have long died. His withered body was lacerated as blood splattered everywhere. The reverse force formed by the myriad Tao was crushed into pieces. Su Yan withstood the astonishing pressure as he recited the myriad Tao scripture. The mighty power brought about by the heavenly technique suppressed the serious consequences of the reverse process. Su Yan was in so much pain that his body could not stop trembling. However, the reverse process of the primal chaos Ci also brought Su Yan exuberant divine Tao essence. Just a small amount of divine power stored in his body caused Su Yan's withered body to glow. However, his withered blood essence released terrifying fluctuations. Although Su Yan was about to decline to the extreme, the blood essence beam that he slightly spewed out also riddled the void with holes. Just how powerful was this? This power was even more astonishing than when he was at his peak. Su Yan was like an injured young king as he laughed maniacally. As long as he could withstand the first impact of the reverse process, Su Yan's subsequent cultivation would be safe and sound. "I smell a familiar aura." Kiki, the silent blood altar, was vast and boundless. It bore the weight of countless corpses as if it was the final resting place of the gods. The cold and gloomy world emitted a strange and ominous aura that devoured one's marrow and soul. It was even more malevolent and sinister than purgatory. There were also cold and gloomy voices. Those were shadows with terrifying auras that passed through the vast blood altar. Zhu Fu was laughing maliciously. He had already sensed Su Yan's aura and knew that he was very close to him. The leading figure was hunched over and extremely withered. A grandmaster of the occult sect was deeply afraid of the blood altar. However, he was more interested in Su Yan, who had reached the depths of the altar. It was very likely that he had grasped the occult sect's inheritance that the clan yearned for even in their dreams. Brothers Qing Tian went to the hospital early in the morning. Hence, he did not update in time and only returned home in the afternoon. Chapter 838. At the end of the majestic blood altar, at the edge of the abyss, painful roars reverberated. Similarly, a wisp of aura was recovering, causing the universe to tremble and space to sink. The light of blood essence that leaked out was like golden lightning in the color of blood. It split open the void and surged violently. It was hard to believe that this was a small amount of divine power released by an extremely withered shadow with a withered body. Just a portion of the recovered power was enough to cause the space to tremble. This withered shadow released an extremely divine radiance. It was the eye of the chaos sea that was shining, reflecting all kinds of strange phenomena. It was as if 10,000 small universes were revolving around Su Yan. This was the power of 10,000 Tao. It erupted from the eye of the chaos sea and pierced through Su Yan's withered body. It started to refine Su Yan's chaos divine power. This process was usually very dangerous. One had to have the protection of an expert. After all, this was a great evolution from a human to a god. There was a certain risk of death. Of course, the stronger the origin chi used, the greater the risk one had to bear. Su Yan's accumulation in the great Tao realm was completely released. It returned to the eye of the chaos sea and was refined into a new substance. This was the divine power of the great Tao. It was like a rare medicinal liquid. It flowed down like 10,000 true dragons on Su Yan's body. Cough, Su Yan was also coughing up blood. Even his pores were spurting out blood. Under the refine of the chaos sea's eye, new blood was born in Su Yan's body. The blurry 9-colored blood became much clearer, and there was a terrifying pressure of time. Crack. Moreover, his bones had started to break apart during this process, and pieces of shattered bones sprayed out from his flesh and blood. He was completely being reborn. Moreover, his new bones were densely covered in profound divine marks of the great Tao, and they were glowing like numerous heavenly bones. These were new divine bones, but they were extremely terrifying. They were like great killing weapons hidden in Su Yan's body. They clanged, and the sound was enough to penetrate metal and crack stone. This was especially so for Su Yan's organs. He was proficient in 10,000 Tao. Now that he was tempering his body, he had tempered his organs to a terrifying level. They corresponded to the great Tao of the 5 elements. When they recovered slightly, there would be surging 5 elements sword radiance erupting. It was completely different. The divine physique of the Great Path had many wonderful uses. Only by truly mastering all the great paths and elevating it to such a level could one perfectly display the power of the Great Path, allowing it to transform endlessly. Of course, this process was very painful. It was a complete torture. Su Yan's body seemed to be torn apart, but in reality, he was undergoing a kind of new life. This was an essential step in condensing the divine body. He refined the original combat body into essence and returned it to the eye of the chaos sea. Along with the refinement of the great Tao, with the chaotic source chi as the foundation, his potential was perfectly released. Then, a new constitution would be created. It would be Su Yan's perfect constitution. All the energy would be combined into one and gathered in his body. It would be equal to the great Tao of gods and demons. The godly body was the same as getting rid of the mortal body. It was also the symbol of a true master of the universe. After doing all this, Su Yan would unleash all the divine powers and secret techniques he had mastered to an extremely powerful state and display the power of great divine powers. Just like now, he was comprehending all kinds of secret techniques that he had cultivated in the past. The Big Dipper fist was truly erupting. Su Yan's body was like a terrifying star that was awakening, and a terrifying aura surged out. This was a completely different manifestation of a divine demon. In the future, he could also absorb the chaotic chi to cultivate and grow stronger in the chaos. Sooner or later, he would become an expert that would make the universe pale in comparison. I've finally made it. Su Yan's eyes suddenly opened, and a smile appeared on his tired face. The most dangerous moment had passed. Although his body still looked very weak, he would be able to stand at the peak after some time. He just didn't know how many levels of the divine realm he could reach. Now, he was like a wounded giant beast lying here. As he breathed in and out, the chaotic heavenly essence spewed out from the endless abyss and drilled into Su Yan's body. Like a true dragon, the chaotic heavenly essence accelerated the recovery of Su Yan's decline. He estimated that without the help of the chaotic heavenly essence, he would need at least a month to stand at the peak. He might even need to consume a large amount of chaotic treasure liquid. But now it was completely different. A few days would be enough. The absorption speed is really freakish. Su Yan was moved. The absorption speed was more than 10 times faster than before. As he breathed in and out, the space became dim. All kinds of divine powers drilled into his mouth and nose, and then into Su Yan's godly body. He even realized that his foundation was simply a bottomless pit. The chaotic heavenly essence was too freakish. It had laid down a heaven-defying foundation for Su Yan. He felt that his magic power was monstrous and his supernatural powers were boundless. This left Su Yan pleasantly surprised. If such a terrifying foundation were to erupt, it would be enough to frighten cultivators of his generation. Of course, in the future, Su Yan would have to burn through his treasury. He would need a massive amount of chaotic heavenly essence to accumulate his foundation. It looks like I'll have to stay at the blood altar for some time to collect enough chaotic heavenly essence. I wonder how Li is doing. Su Yan quietly recovered, a smile on his face. This trip to the corpse blood sea could be said to be a fruitful one. It's all thanks to Bamboo Moon. If she hadn't given me the Strange Gates Secret Techniques Inheritance Stone, I wouldn't have been able to reach this point. Although I'm not a 7th grade domain master, the first half of the Strange Gates Secret Techniques description of the terrain can be said to be at the pinnacle. Su Yan leisurely swallowed the energy to evolve. What he didn't know was that the corpse blood sea had undergone a great change. The entire blood realm was experiencing a great earthquake. Just what is happening? Could it be that His Highness Daozu wants to attack the corpse blood sea? All the powerhouses of the blood realm had gathered, and there was also the overlord of the Feng family. The chaos of the corpse blood sea had already ended half a year ago. Everyone knew that 2 peerless geniuses of heaven, Luo Tiandu and King Flash, had been buried there. Afterwards, the 2 great influences had joined forces to explore the corpse blood sea. Unfortunately, they hadn't obtained anything. But today, the Ancestral Hall's great army had gathered and gods had descended to the world. They had sealed off the entire corpse blood sea, causing a terrifying earthquake. The Ancestral Hall's actions infuriated the Feng family. The Ancestral Hall had gone too far. No matter how it was said, the blood realm was overseen by the Feng family. But the Ancestral Hall didn't even greet them and instead sent their troops to attack. The meaning behind this was completely different. Could it be that the Ancestral Hall wanted to attack the corpse blood sea and seize the legendary chaotic heavenly essence? No matter what was said, the Ancestral Hall's actions had caused the blood realm to shake in this great storm of the cultivation world. Every life form that came out of the corpse blood sea was closely examined. Just what were they planning? Zhu Fu and the others did this just in case. They didn't know whether or not Su Yan had any experts from the burial realm following him. At this point, Zhu Fu didn't believe that Su Yan could escape this inescapable net. Their Ancestral Hall had gathered many gods and powerhouses, so how could they not catch a single Su Yan? A peerless crisis had already begun to approach Su Yan. The difficulty of passing through the blood altar had exceeded the expectations of the Han family's old grandmaster. From the moment they entered the corpse blood sea until now, 7 days and 7 nights had passed. Primal Chaos Dragon Vein. The Han family's old grandmaster's body was stooped, and his body had withered to an unimaginable degree. At this moment, His turbid eyes suddenly shone with a sharp light and a trace of amazement. As he saw the primal chaos energy gushing out of the abyss, he instantly recognized that this was the primal chaos dragon vein. The Han family was one of the overlords of the Chaos Ruins. Their clan was known as the ancestor of the strange doors. How could they not know about the primal chaos dragon vein? Their Han family also grasped one, but it was absolutely not as terrifying as this one. It was so strong that even this old grandmaster was trembling in fear. Such a heaven-defying stroke of fortune had actually appeared in this corpse blood sea. It was simply unimaginable. If news of this were to spread out, the giants of the Chaos Ruins would come to fight over the primal Chaos Dragon Vein. After all, this primal Chaos Dragon Vein was enough to sustain the glory of a superpower for countless years. It even had a chance of producing primal Chaos Source Chi. What? The legendary primal Chaos Dragon Vein? Zhu Fu's face paled. How could he not know what a primal Chaos Dragon Vein was? Basically, all the great powers controlled small primal Chaos Dragon Veins. But for such a shocking scene of a primal Chaos Dragon Vein gushing out energy, even the eyes of a Supreme Elder would turn red with envy. With such a primal Chaos Dragon Vein in hand, it could completely suppress the destiny of an entire clan. Elder, look. Isn't that evil creature Su Yan? Among the 5 of them, the other 3 Ancestral Hall experts were overjoyed. They all saw a figure sitting cross-legged at the edge of the abyss, cultivating in seclusion. Su Yan seemed to be in deep seclusion, isolated from the outside world. He boldly sat cross-legged at the depths of the blood altar, even swallowing a strand of primal chaos heavenly essence to cultivate. Ha 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 ha! This scene caused Zhu Fu to slap his thigh and laugh. This insect, I've finally found you. What a joke. You're still cultivating here. Do you really think you're the only one who can enter the blood altar? Ha 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 ha. We still have to thank him. Otherwise, how could such an astonishing fortune be so easily obtained? Primal Chaos Dragon Vein, there's definitely Primal Chaos Source Chi below. The rumors are true, but I never thought it would fall into the hands of my Ancestral Hall. Ah! The Ancestral Hall experts were incomparably excited. The Han family old grandmaster was expressionless, but there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. Not to mention him, even if a group of old antiques from the Han family came out, they might not necessarily be able to move the Primal Chaos Dragon Vein away. Moreover, the essence of the Primal Chaos Dragon Vein, Primal Chaos Source Chi? In order to obtain Primal Chaos Source Chi, one had to suppress the entire Primal Chaos Dragon Vein. Did they really think that Primal Chaos Source Chi was something that just anyone could obtain? Was the layout of this place as simple as it seemed on the surface? He placed his withered hands behind his back and stared deeply at Su Yan. He really wanted to know if the mystic chapter he grasped was real or not. Wake him up. Zhu Fu's face flushed with a cruel coldness. Now, he didn't even bother to deal with Su Yan. I wonder what kind of expression this trash fish that has been bouncing around under the eyes of my Ancestral Hall for over a dozen years will have when he wakes up and opens his eyes to see us. The Ancestral Hall experts laughed. One of them suddenly roared, the sound of the great Tao exploding, penetrating Su Yan's ears and shattering his soul. Puff! In a single exchange, Su Yan's body trembled. His body cracked and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body and soul were nearly destroyed. You guys! Su Yan turned pale with fright. He saw the 3 Ancestral Hall experts laughing maliciously as they walked towards Su Yan. He was clearly terrified and lost his head out of fear. Trash, why haven't you come out and surrendered yet? The 3 experts faced the sky and laughed. They were very satisfied with the expression on Su Yan's face. They rushed over together with terrifying divine force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. These were 2 peak heavenly deities and a divine king. Su Yan immediately crawled up and rushed towards the abyss. Where do you think you're going? The three experts' auras swallowed 10,000 li as they chased after Su Yan. However, when Su Yan rushed towards the abyss and was about to touch the gushing primal chaos, he revealed a bitter killing intent that targeted the abyss. This abyss couldn't be touched, couldn't be provoked. Once the killing intent was released, the entire abyss became infinitely terrifying. It was as if a peerless devil had risen from the ground, causing the primal chaos dragon vein to boil. Billions of layers of primal chaos essence flowed in reverse, tearing apart everything. Ah! Su Yan screamed miserably. His body directly exploded into bloody light. Chapter 839. This lunatic, he's a lunatic. The expressions of the three experts from the ancestral hall changed drastically. At this moment, they finally understood why they called him Lunatic Su. He would rather die than let them have an easy time and make them accompany him in death. The entire abyss gushed with an aura that made their hair stand on end. All of them trembled and were on the verge of disintegrating. They cried out in fear. Why would the abyss suddenly go berserk? The abyss was enraged. Before Luo Tiandu left, it informed Su Yan that the abyss would go berserk if it released any killing intent. As a result, a huge explosion occurred in the vast space. Chaotic killing intent gushed out from the abyss and shattered everything. The scene was truly frightening. It was as if a supreme being had gone berserk and wanted to tear apart any expert who disrespected the abyss. How is this possible? Zhu Fu was dumbfounded. He was like a statue because Su Yan's body and soul had been destroyed. He had exploded into a bloody light under the chaotic, killing intent gushing out from the abyss. What was this? They had paid such a huge price just to take away Su Yan. But now, Su Yan had fallen? How could such a ridiculous thing happen? Zhu Fu couldn't be mistaken. The person just now was definitely Su Yan. Zhu Fu couldn't be mistaken about Su Yan's spiritual essence. After all, he was a half-step supreme being. But this outcome left him unable to react. Had Su Yan really fallen? Even the experts from the ancestral hall were trembling one after another. The two heavenly deities couldn't even be considered as waves in this calamity. They went on their way with unwillingness and despair. They only had one thought in their minds: why did they charge over? So what if it was the Divine King? Back then, the Divine King had risked his life to pluck the chaotic source gas. In the end, he was killed by the abyss. Now, endless chaotic killing intent gushed out, beating the Divine King of the ancestral hall until he screamed miserably. The Divine King's body was shattered and he was about to explode. He roared, "Save me, Elder Zhu Fu, save me, save me!" This was the Divine King. He hadn't even displayed much of his strength in the corpse blood sea before dying miserably under the fury of the abyss. This was truly a tragedy. Stop! Zhu Fu was infuriated. Although he had yet to recover from his old injuries in the demon region, Zhu Fu was still a half-step supreme being. He decisively took out his supreme being's holy weapon and slashed at the chaos-killing force of the Divine King of the ancestral hall. Stop! The Han family's old grandmaster glared angrily at Zhu Fu, urging him to stop. He felt that something was wrong. With his eyesight as a 7th-grade grandmaster, he could see that there was a big problem with the abyss. This abyss was definitely a place of war. Once there was a war or killing intent, they would inevitably be killed by the abyss. However, it was already too late for him to stop Zhu Fu. The killing intent that erupted from Zhu Fu's supreme being's saint weapon caused the abyss to undulate violently. Millions upon millions of chaotic waves surged up violently, peerlessly terrifying. So what if it was a supreme existence's sacred weapon? In the end, he was still not a powerful being. He only had a portion of the power of a powerful being. Now, under the power of the primal chaos dragon vein, he was torn apart. Ah! The Divine King of the ancestral hall was beaten into a bloody mist. The first-generation Divine King didn't even have time to struggle before dying miserably in the abyss. Bastard! Zhu Fu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as he roared with hatred. Ever since he was born, the deaths of the two great ancestral Hall Divine Kings were all related to Su Yan. This caused an uncontrollable killing intent to boil within him, so much so that he wanted to crush the entire abyss. Fool! The Han family's old grandmaster's expression turned ugly, because the killing intent surging out of the abyss was even more violent. He could faintly see a pair of blurry eyes open in the abyss, so large that they could tear apart the sea of stars. This pair of eyes was scarlet and seemed somewhat unreal. In the endless abyss, one could vaguely feel a trace of gloomy coldness flashing through them. Even though this pair of eyes had only opened a little, it was already boundlessly large. This caused the Han family's old grandmaster to feel as if he was struck by lightning. While they were looking down on Su Yan like an ant, there was also an unimaginable giant looking down on them like ants. The Han family's old grandmaster was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. He had moved unhindered in the world of cultivation and was invincible in the mystic arts and array Dao. He had opened many death traps before, but this death trap made him feel great fear. He didn't want to take even half a step into it. Zhu Fu was also shocked. His legs went soft and his entire body stiffened. "You two old bastards!" Curses could be heard as well as loud roars. "Kill!" The murderous roars pierced through the abyss, brewing with the Tao of slaughter. Bitter killing intent seeped out along with a spiritual will that could tear apart the abyss. In the blink of an eye, billions of strands of primal chaos shattered time and space. Blood light overflowed into the sky and shook the entire blood altar. Countless corpses were turned into ashes as the blood altar shook violently. "You little bastard Su Yan, I'll kill you, kill you!" Zhu Fu was really enraged. His heart and lungs were about to explode. He was a half-step almighty, but he had been tricked by Su Yan. He turned his head and saw Su Yan. To be precise, it was a pitiful figure with a withered body and cracked skin. He was lying on the ground, looking exactly the same as the corpse on the blood altar. Su Yan had already sensed that there were experts approaching the abyss. Su Yan immediately stopped and used the great Tao Immortal Pearl to suppress his own life. And the one who had escaped into the abyss was Su Yan's primordial body that he had condensed in the demon court. Seeing that they didn't dare to enter the abyss, Su Yan could only trigger boundless killing intent. He made the primal chaos flow in reverse and pour into the blood altar, causing chaos. The first to be hit by the endless tide of primal chaos was Zhu Fu and the Han family's old grandmaster. As for Su Yan, he got up and ran as fast as he could. This was the blood altar. No matter how strong they were, they couldn't cross the blood altar. But with the two old antiques here, Su Yan had no choice but to trigger the primal chaos to stop the footsteps of Zhu Fu and the Han family's old grandmaster. Rumble! The primal chaos flowed in reverse. Along the way, countless corpses and bones were crushed. Even the bodies of the Almighties that were still standing were blasted into ashes by the primal chaos. The commotion was too great. The two old antiques released terrifying killing intent. They were really enraged. They had been tricked by a junior. Fortunately, the terrifying creatures in the abyss were sleeping. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to leave alive, especially since Su Yan had taken away their great fortune. He could no longer see anything in the deep abyss. However, a blood-stained coffin floated in the chaos. There seemed to be a pair of eyes opened within it. They stared at Su Yan's fleeing figure with great resentment. Su Yan's movements were extremely fast. He really couldn't figure out how Zhu Fu, this old bastard, managed to find his way to this place. At this moment, Su Yan didn't have the mood to think about these matters. He had to leave this place as soon as possible. His body looked withered, but in reality, his body was constantly recovering with a terrifying source of life. Su Yan crazily recovered. The situation was extremely urgent. If there were soldiers from the ancestral hall outside, then Su Yan wouldn't be able to break through to the God realm. That would be the most dangerous moment. What's going on? However, the corpse blood sea was not calm at this moment. It caused chaos and panic. A vast area of the corpse blood sea directly sank, causing the experts from the various clans to cry out in alarm. What was going on in the corpse blood sea? The ancestral hall had sealed it in advance. Could it be that they had grasped the secrets of the corpse blood sea? The experts from the Phone clan all lost their colors. A small part of the vast corpse blood sea had sunk. This was also a sign that a boundless area had collapsed. Rumble! Surging bloody light rushed straight to the heavens and shattered the firmament. It was simply the activation of a peak-killing formation. The entire corpse blood sea was filled with furious howls of evil winds. The surging waves of bloody light covered the sun. Moreover, there were great stars in the universe that were shattered. Some experts from the Phone clan could clearly see that boundless primal chaos was surging and shaking the starry sky. This caused the vast earth to tremble. Even the moon and stars were swaying. Something big had definitely happened. It was even more frightening than the chaos in the corpse blood sea. This fluctuation swept across the entire blood realm. Why did so many experts come from the Great Net dynasty? The experts from the Phone clan had uncertain expressions. Were they really the overlords of the blood realm? A few old kings suddenly came from the Great Havenlaw dynasty. Their auras were terrifying as they emitted a radiance that overflowed into the sky. They carried a bright killing intent and were like three great suns in the sky. They were all kings who controlled the vast territories of the Great Havenlaw dynasty and had extremely powerful battle prowess. The ancestral hall didn't dare to block their path. After all, Xu Fu was not here to hold the line. In the end, less than half a day later, a piece of news spread across the entire blood realm, causing all the experts to be shaken. Unbelievable, Luo Tiandu and King Flash are still alive. The people from the Phone clan were astonished. A few months had passed, but Luo Tiandu and King Flash were still alive after being brought out from the corpse blood sea. Although they were all skin and bones and their foundations were greatly damaged, they were still alive. Brother! Luo Huaqing cried out involuntarily. Luo Tiandu's appearance was too miserable. It was as if he was a lamp without oil. Old Prince, look, it's the old prince. Luo Enyang lost control. He never thought that the old prince was still alive and even brought Luo Tiandu back. The three kings from the Great Net dynasty sighed incessantly. They really didn't expect Tiandu to be alive. It was Luo Yuanjing who reported the news. The three great divine king directly rushed into the corpse blood sea. They also didn't expect to bring Luo Tiandu back so easily. Haha, it wasn't me who brought Tiandu out. I don't dare to ask for credit in front of the Imperial Lord. Luo Yuanjing seemed to be dozens of years younger. He laughed loudly and said, "It was someone else. My Great Net dynasty will reward him heavily, heavily. It's someone else." The three great divine kings of the Great Net dynasty were moved. This was a great favor. After all, Luo Tiandu was a peak talent, a peerless figure ranked only below Emperor Nan. Luo Yuanjing was a little dumbfounded. He forgot to ask Su Yan what his name was. Could it be? Luo Huaqing's heart skipped a beat. Luo Tiandu smiled bitterly and said weakly, "It was Dili Luo and the others." As if a cold wind blew, Luo Enyang and the others were stunned. Someone couldn't help but mutter, "It seems that the little princess is quite attractive. This brat really dared to go to the corpse blood sea and even succeeded." Luo Tiandu frowned. What was going on? Luo Huaqing's face flushed red. Even the little she-devil found it hard to speak. She even looked around, not knowing what to do. She was so nervous that she felt like a little rabbit was running around in her chest. Where did Luo Daong go? What are you talking about? Good for you, Luo Daong. After Luo Tiandu learned the truth, he was about to explode in anger. His first thought was, "I'm almost your brother-in-law. It's fine if you blackmail the Lightning King, but you actually have the nerve to blackmail me?" Chapter 840. Big brother, what's wrong with you? Luo Huaqing was nervous and uneasy. His heart raced as he panicked. Then he saw that Luo Tiandu's mood wasn't right. He was already in a terrible state, and now he was so angry that he was about to spit out blood. But no matter how angry he was, he couldn't spit out blood. There was only a small amount of essence blood left in his body, which made Luo Tiandu's face turn green. I'm fine. Luo Tiandu gritted his teeth. Luo Daong was too shameless. Putting aside the fact that his sister wanted to marry him, Su Yan still had the nerve to blackmail him? He was too shameless and hateful. Why did the ancestral hall send so many people? Luo Yuanjing frowned. Could it be that they had designs on corpse blood sea? On the way here, he had asked Luo Tiandu, and Luo Tiandu had indeed seen the primal chaos source qi. At that time, Luo Yuanjing was extremely excited. After all, Luo Tiandu hadn't stepped into the realm of gods yet. But Luo Tiandu said that it was too difficult to take away the primal chaos source qi. Even a half-step almighty couldn't do it. Moreover, who knew what was hidden in the abyss? He felt that the few peak races should join forces to have a chance of taking away the primal chaos source qi. Kacha. The vast corpse blood sea was a peerless danger zone. From the time of the chaos until now, there were still areas that had collapsed. Large black cracks spread far and wide, almost reaching the outer regions. It was also because of this chaos that the bloody light of corpse blood sea had dissipated by a lot. Some experts opened their heavenly eyes and looked into the distance. Their expressions changed. What they saw was a mountain of corpses lying in the shattered mountains and rivers. The scene was hair-raising. How many experts were buried in this devil's den? What kind of unknown mysteries exist in this former super battlefield? Back then, only the Daluo dynasty's Luo Tiandu and the divine firmament star field's King Flash came out alive. I wonder what they experienced in corpse blood sea. Now that the ancestral hall has come and even sealed off corpse blood sea, what are the gods of the ancestral hall trying to do? The blood realm was in an uproar. The change in the corpse blood sea caused chaos and panic. Many experts from the ancestral hall came out with their auras and sealed off the entire corpse blood sea. They didn't even ask for the Feng clan's opinion. Zhu Fu was a half-step almighty of the ancestral hall. He could easily dispatch a large number of experts from the ancestral hall. For the ancestral hall, as long as they could capture Su Yan alive, any price was worth it. The vast corpse blood sea covered the sun with its bloody light, covering the vast universe and the stars. There were many sunken territories and broken walls everywhere. Moreover, the corpse blood sea was still shaking. All of this originated from the shaking of the blood altar and the unparalleled killing intent gushing out of the abyss. Evil creature, you can't escape. Zhu Fu was in an extremely difficult situation. His hair was disheveled and he coughed up blood. He had already been severely injured in the demon domain, and now he was injured by the fury of the abyss. However, the aura of a half-step almighty was still terrifying. The murderous intent that filled the air gushed out like a tide from the depths of the blood altar. The Han family's old grandmaster was not in a hurry, and his steps were steady. His body was bent, and his turbid eyes emitted a cold light. He didn't think that he would suffer such a great loss at the hands of a junior. This was an unexpected result. Interesting. The Han family's old grandmaster became more and more interested in the mystic chapter that Su Yan had grasped. After all, Su Yan was so young, yet he was able to rush into the depths of the corpse blood sea. It was obvious that the mystic chapter he had grasped was no small matter. It seems that my Han family is about to recover the strongest foundation of our ancestors. Old Grandmaster Han's eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess. This item should have been returned to the Han family, but Bamboo Moon had refused to hand it over. If it weren't for the fact that the Han family was wary of the Sky Bamboo lineage, they would have already stopped people from intercepting and killing Bamboo Moon halfway. Although it was a little late, If the mystic chapter could be returned to the Han family, it would be enough for the Han family to have an 8th-grade mystic grandmaster. Once that day came, the Han family would definitely be a famous superpower in the cultivation world. With an 8th-grade mystic grandmaster in charge, even the Almighty would have to give them some face. Su Yan, right? I hope you don't disappoint me. Old Grandmaster Han smiled sinisterly. He wasn't in a hurry. The ancestral hall had set up an inescapable net outside. With Su Yan's cultivation, it was impossible for him to escape. Moreover, he was already a lamp that had run out of oil. That's right. Su Yan's current state was similar to that of a lamp that had run out of oil. However, if the Han family's old grandmaster could see the life essence in Su Yan's body that had recovered, he would definitely not say that. Only 10 or 20% of the mystic body had been completed, and that had already surpassed Su Yan's strongest era. How did this old bastard find his way inside? A skinny figure was running wildly on the blood altar. Every time he passed through a section of the blood altar, the terrifying source of blood essence in Su Yan's body grew a little stronger. He was devouring the chaotic heavenly essence that he had collected from the furnace of heaven and earth. Fortunately, he had collected a large amount of it with the furnace of heaven and earth. Otherwise, it would have been a big problem for him to break through. Su Yan gnashed his teeth in hatred. If Zhu Fu and the others hadn't come, the abyss wouldn't have rioted. Even Su Yan would have collected a huge amount of wealth because of this, which would be enough to support his cultivation for many years in the future. Calm down, calm down. Anyway, I have obtained the chaotic source chi and my breakthrough will be very fast. Give me a few more days and I will definitely break through. Su Yan thought to himself. Fortunately, this was the blood altar, which had a unique environment. Otherwise, he would have been caught by Zhu Fu before he could run far. Su Yan's emotions gradually calmed down. Since he had already reached this stage, he had to kill his way out as soon as possible and leave the blood region. The copper furnace hanging above his head shone continuously, and chaotic heavenly essence drooped down. They were like chaotic dragons that had flown out from the chaos and drilled into Su Yan's flesh shell. His body was blazing. Although his flesh and blood still looked very withered, there was a powerful source of energy in his body. In the process of continuing to strengthen, Su Yan's entire body released a power that could suppress the universe and starry sky. He was like a resurrected divine dragon that was digging out the divine treasures in his body step by step. Crackle, crackle. Su Yan had been running wildly on the blood altar for an entire day. At this moment, his entire body's bones moved rhythmically, and the sound of thunder from the 9 heavens resounded, shaking the heavens and the earth. Hum! All the newly grown divine bones in his body shone and arranged themselves in Su Yan's body. In an instant, Su Yan's aura soared by a large margin. It was as if a human-shaped murderous weapon had been unsheathed. It emitted a terrifying radiance that could easily split open the heavens. Roar! Su Yan let out a long roar, and his hair danced in the wind. His entire body emitted a monstrous light beam that tore through the sky. This was a power that could collapse the starry sky. The powerful power made Su Yan let out a long roar at the sky, venting the joy and excitement in his heart. He had finally cultivated to the level of an expert in the universe. Ha ha, I'm going to become a god soon. Su Yan rushed out of the blood altar. The next moment, he took out the starry sky beast's skin and began to traverse space. With the help of the starry sky beast's skin, Su Yan's traversal speed was not inferior to that of a half-step mighty figure. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the black tunnel. 2 days had passed. Even the experts from the Feng family were dumbfounded. What was the ancestral hall's god Pestle doing here? They didn't do anything and only sealed off the various passages in the corpse blood sea. This scene stunned the experts who were watching the battle. They thought that the ancestral hall was going to do something big, and some even felt that the ancestral hall was waiting for something. No matter what the ancestral hall wanted to do, Luo Huaqing didn't care. But where did Luo Daong go? The three great kings of the Daluo dynasty also wanted to see Luo Tiandu's savior. They wanted to see which clan's young expert was from. This kid is very slippery. He definitely won't die. Luo Yuanzheng was very confident in Su Yan. He said, moreover, the ancestral hall isn't targeting Luo Daong. We'll wait for him for a few days and see what the ancestral hall's experts want to do. Luo Yuanzheng guessed that it was because of the primal chaotic source gas. Luo Tiandu had already seen it. After 2 days, Luo Tiandu's situation had improved. He had eaten a lot of supplements. When they talked about Luo Daong, Luo Tiandu's heart would burn with anger. He looked at the corpse blood sea with a cold expression. He wanted to know how Luo Daong would explain it to him. The chaos in the corpse blood sea had stopped, and the bloody light inside had dissipated. The experts from various races felt that now was the best time to explore the corpse blood sea. Perhaps they could really dig something out. There were already important figures from various races who came to ask Luo Tiandu about the secrets of the corpse blood sea. How could Luo Tiandu easily tell them about this matter? He even wondered if Luo Daong had obtained the primal chaotic source gas. He had stayed behind at that time. Look, someone rushed out from the depths of the corpse blood sea. It was also at this time that the experts occupying the corpse blood sea were shocked. They stared at a thin figure with bewildered eyes. A corpse! No, another person came out alive. After Luo Tiandu and King Flash, this is the third expert to come out from the depths of the corpse blood sea. He's all skin and bones. His situation is exactly the same as Luo Tiandu's. Another young expert came out alive. The old antiques of various races were moved. They couldn't wait to find out what was hidden in the corpse blood sea. They didn't dare to force Luo Tiandu and King Flash to speak, but this person should be able to, right? Su Yan rushed out of the depths of the corpse blood sea as fast as lightning. Ancestral Hall deities. The moment he rushed out, Su Yan's expression turned cold. He had already sensed that a large number of Ancestral Hall experts had gathered at the periphery of the corpse blood sea. Some experts had already summoned a space-time mirror and projected it onto Su Yan's body. They instantly saw through his true nature. The group of experts sneered. They were all too familiar with this Su Yan who had turned the Ancestral Hall upside down. But in the end, he was trapped here in a place of despair. Bang! The entire corpse blood sea seemed to collapse. The mountains, rivers, and earth rumbled. Endless earth and rocks were swept up, scattering large amounts of blood light. In the surging scene, the entire corpse blood sea was filled with killing intent that soared into the heavens. The Ancestral Hall deities that had been silent for several days began to awaken from their slumber. Each one of them was clad in shining armor, wielding heavenly halberds, killing swords, divine spears that cold light seemed capable of tearing apart one's soul. Everyone present paled. The Ancestral Hall deities erupted. The earth trembled as they charged towards the young man who had rushed out from the depths of the corpse blood sea. F***ck your mother. Su Yan's eyes widened as he angrily roared. There are many corpses on the path to godhood. Today, this daddy will kill all of you as a sacrifice. His roar caused the winds and clouds to change. Waves rose and fell as his roar shook the myriad mountains. Countless leaves crazily flew everywhere and swept up Su Yan's long hair that was draped over his shoulders. Su Yan walked with majestic steps towards the periphery of the corpse blood sea. He wanted to meet the heroes and kill them all. Roar. This is the first battle of godhood. Brothers, come and support us. Chapter 841. What's going on? The Ancestral Hall's people all erupted. Could it be that they came for this person? But isn't this a bit too much? Could it be a divine king expert? All the spectators were stunned. What was going on? This scene had appeared too suddenly. Previously, the Ancestral Hall had appeared too suddenly. However, because of the appearance of one person, all the experts that Su Yan had sent to kill them had unleashed their strongest fighting strength, announcing that they had sealed off the layout of the corpse blood sea. In fact, many Ancestral Hall experts wanted to see Su Yan's expression when he escaped the encirclement and saw that the Ancestral Hall had sealed the corpse blood sea. That would definitely be spectacular and eye-catching. In the end, the Ancestral Hall had suffered too much in Su Yan's hands. They hated him to the bone, especially when the old leader of the clan had caused great damage to their ancestral court, causing the Ancestral Hall to suffer disastrous losses. Even a supreme expert was killed. What kind of humiliation was this? But now, they had blocked the clan's most outstanding rising star, and even had the Ancestral Hall's deities suppressing them, sealing the heaven and earth. Shouldn't Su Yan be afraid and uneasy? But they were disappointed. They didn't see any extra emotions on Su Yan's face. Instead, it was frighteningly cold. Su Yan even took the initiative to charge out, wanting to meet all the heroes and kill until the heavens fell and the earth rend. He's courting death. Help him out. Remember, don't kill him no matter what. We have to capture him alive. He has to be captured alive. If he's dead, he's worthless. The Ancestral Hall's deities were furious. A small rising star wanted to turn the tide and change the situation? This time, the Ancestral Hall's experts were not the same as before. Even the weakest was at the deity realm, and they were all elites among elite. Could it be that capturing Su Yan was a problem? Although he had the power to kill a heavenly god, the Ancestral Hall's experts were clear that it was because Su Yan's immortal iron staff was abnormal enough that he could kill a heavenly god. But now it was different. They had sealed the heaven and earth, and sealed the entire corpse blood sea. Could they let Su Yan grow wings and fly out? He Luo Enyong and the others looked at each other with horror in their eyes. Why did they feel that this withered man was Luo Deong, who had disappeared in the corpse blood sea? Even Luo Huaqing felt that he was Luo Deong, but that shouldn't be the case. Why would Luo Deong provoke the Ancestral Hall? Could it be that the Ancestral Hall wanted to know the secrets of the depths of the corpse blood sea? But even so, it was impossible for such a powerful war to break out. Luo Tian furrowed his brows. This person should be Luo Deong without a doubt. The blood altar could devour a person's blood essence. Luo Tian guessed that Luo Deong had been severely injured in the corpse blood sea and had almost been tortured to death. Otherwise, how could his body have withered? Kill, the experts closest to Su Yan had already swooped down. Their bodies glowed as they raised their weapons. Their eyes were filled with cruelty as they made up their minds to break Su Yan's legs and drag him to the Ancestral Hall. 5 experts soared through the sky with great fighting prowess. They unleashed their greatest power and descended from the sky, aiming to kill Su Yan, who was striding toward the outside world. Good timing, I will kill to my heart's content today. Dogs of the Ancestral Hall, bring it on. Su Yan's eyes turned vertical as 2 rays of light shot out. It was as if the light of purgatory was gushing out from the depths of hell. It contained a fierce, murderous intent that tore apart the entire void. Under the aghast gazes of everyone present, this withered figure was burning fiercely. It didn't seem like he was exhausted on the surface. Instead, his divine force was so terrifying that it could pierce through the heavens. Su Yan hadn't completed his final transformation yet, but he was now sufficiently powerful and abnormal. Boom! A loud explosion resounded, shattering the universe. It was a glowing figure with a domineering aura that could devour the firmament. He raised his fist and punched the sky. The aura of dragons and tigers surged, containing the power to pierce through the firmament. The spectating experts of the Feng family were terrified. These were the elites of the Ancestral Hall, but they felt a spirit that could crush 10,000 enemies from this withered man's body. The Ancestral Hall was a superpower that could be considered the #1 clan among the clans. Apart from the Burial Realm clan, no other clan's experts would emit such a ferocious aura toward the Ancestral Hall's experts. However, They had now sensed it from this withered man's body. At this moment, his fighting prowess was extremely frightening. The moment his fists moved, the space where they struck exploded. The 5 ancestral hall experts who took the lead to kill felt a chill from head to toe. Their bodies were locked down and began to tremble uncontrollably. Someone screamed miserably as his body exploded in the sky, dyeing the void with blood. "Save me!" the heavenly deity cried out in fear as his body trembled. This peerless power shattered his spirit, causing him to tremble. Who would be able to save them? Su Yan's fist was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Moreover, it contained a peerless power that could shatter the firmament. With one fist, the 5 experts exploded one after another, dying miserably under Su Yan's fist. The entire corpse blood sea boiled. The spectators cried out in alarm. They were the elites of the ancestral hall. But now they were blown apart by Su Yan's fist. Their blood splashed across the firmament. This was too cruel. Just who was this young expert that did this? Where do you think you're going? An angry roar resounded, shaking the space. A group of people who were angrily charging towards Su Yan had their path cut off by a valiant figure. This was De Li's eruption. Once Luo De Li, who was at the peak of the deity realm, fully recovered, the light of his blood essence covered a corner of the battlefield. Luo De Li was a peerless general. He was powerful to the peak. With a single swing of his fist, he killed an ancestral hall expert on the spot. He was not afraid at all as he unleashed a massacre here. His head of hair fluttered as he blocked this group of experts for Su Yan. "It's him!" The spectating Wu Heng was stunned. Then, his complexion paled. How could he not know who Luo De Li was? In the past, he had gone to the martial clan and informed him that the corpse blood sea could not be rushed. But here he saw Luo De Li, and he even saw Luo De Li's figure helping those who had rushed out from the depths of the corpse blood sea. Wu Heng's mind was in turmoil. Could this person be Su Yan? Wu Heng only had to think about it for a moment before confirming it. To be able to cause the ancestral hall to go to war, besides Su Yan, who else could it be in the younger generation? This left him panic-stricken. Could Su Yan kill his way out of such a terrifying situation? All of this touched Su Yan's heart. To have such a life-and-death brother, he had no regrets in life. "Bastard, another clown has jumped out. Kill him for me." An endless stream of ancestral hall experts approached. They were all furious. In this situation, there was actually someone who dared to stand out and help Su Yan. "You bunch of trash, you think you can kill me with just the likes of you?" Su Yan was like an angry Vajra. His withered body was filled with a monstrous fiendish aura. He dived down close to the ground, causing mountains to collapse and earth to overflow into the sky. Su Yan's entire body rippled with boundless divine power of the great Tao, revealing millions of resplendent phantoms. The void exploded. Su Yan was bathed in blood and went berserk. His moves were wide open as he charged into the enemy army. This was a completely thunderous stance. Su Yan was like a sharp blade that cut open the battlefield, causing this area to emit a glaring bloody light. There were experts who were struck on the spot. Half of their bodies caved in as they let out miserable cries. Su Yan's strength was unquestionable. He was about to ascend to the divine realm. He began a massacre like a mad demon. He surged with his strongest power, causing the ancestral hall experts to fall into chaos. He even tossed out a bronze furnace that was enough to suppress a corner of the battlefield. In this world of foul wind and rain of blood, men and horses were thrown off their feet. Their momentum shook the heavens. A few people were stupefied. An expert with a withered body was actually able to overturn a large group of people. Where did such a vicious person come from? "Madman, you still dare to be violent? I'll kill you!" At this time, a corner of the battlefield was filled with radiance. It was as if chains of stars extended from outer space, interweaving with the heavenly marks of the great Tao as they descended from the sky. Su Yan was furious. Was this treating him like a vicious beast and directly binding him? However, these 4 divine chains of the great Tao were extremely abnormal. They collapsed the void, and their pressure soared into the sky. They almost ignored the power of space and directly pierced through, locking Su Yan's 4 limbs. The expressions of some spectating experts changed. This was a rare space-time treasure that specialized in hunting down experts. Now, this vicious person was bound by these 4 chains of stars. No matter how strong he was, it would be extremely difficult for him to struggle free from the suppression of these chains. Kiki! A sinister laugh had just appeared when a figure drilled out from the void. He raised his palm and ruthlessly slapped Su Yan's back. Luo Huaqing's beautiful face lost all color. Who could withstand this kind of frontal assault? However, the result left the spectators aghast. This withered man's body was trembling, and he almost fell to the ground. However, the scene of his body exploding and dying didn't appear. Just how tough did his body have to be able to withstand this attack? This truly frightened many experts. Could it be that this was a supreme being body? What? The figure that stood out from the darkness changed his expression. His palm was enough to collapse the body of a heavenly deity, but Su Yan's body merely trembled, and he coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood. This left him shocked and angry, and the strength he released became even stronger. Let me see how tough you are. His palm was dripping with blood as it bombarded Su Yan's head. This slap caused Su Yan's entire body to tremble. Blood splashed out from his head, and it also thoroughly aroused Su Yan's fury. Roar! Su Yan roared into the sky. His withered body shone, and terrifying blood essence gushed out, shattering the void. If one looked carefully, one could see that Su Yan's body was more complete than before. This also caused the blood essence hibernating in his body to be released. The 4 chains of stars that locked him down also trembled. Yu, the expert that controlled the divine chains of stars, was shocked. How could this be? This secret treasure was out of control and was about to explode. Break! Su Yan roared, his eyes erupting with a monstrous, killing intent. The 4 chains of stars began to explode one after another. A vicious dragon that had been imprisoned in the abyss was released. This dragon fought in the wilderness, shaking the heavens and earth. A terrifying energy surged, causing the young expert that attacked Su Yan to tremble. His body began to crack apart uncontrollably. Chapter 842. How is this possible? How can his body be so strong? In the outer regions of the corpse blood sea, the experts of various races were watching. They were all shocked, and many old monsters of various races paled. Those 4-star rivers could definitely restrain heavenly gods. They were rare treasures that had the potential to evolve to the level of the Divine King's weapons. But they saw Su Yan, a withered figure, tear apart the sky with his bare hands, forcibly breaking apart the star river's chains that bound him. What kind of divine strength was this? It was so savage that it made all the cultivators of the same generation feel their hair stand on end. Even Luo Tian was shocked. What kind of vicious person was this? Where did Luo de Yong come from? No wonder he could subdue Luo de Li. This kind of peerless, ruthless person would definitely become an overlord in the future if he didn't die. It's Zhu Pingyue, one of Zhu Fu's 10 great disciples, a heavenly god. The entire audience boiled over. They clearly saw that the young expert who attacked Su Yan was one of Zhu Fu's 10 great disciples, Zhu Pingyue. His combat strength was extremely high, and he was in the heavenly god realm. But even after he attacked Su Yan twice, he still couldn't kill Su Yan. In fact, under Su Yan's fury, Zhu Pingyue was trembling. His heavenly god body began to crack uncontrollably. Zhu Pingyue was terrified. Could it be that Su Yan had broken through to the heavenly god realm and left the northern demon and the others behind? But how could he cultivate in such a realm? Every realm in the heavenly god realm would easily take 10 years, or even 100 years to cross over. Stop for me. One after another, figures with terrifying auras rushed towards the battlefield. The spectators were all shocked. Xu Fu's 10 great disciples had all come. The other 9 stood in various directions of the battlefield, sealing off the corpse blood sea. After all, Su Yan was too strange. He might even escape. Only one of Xu Fu's disciples, the Divine King, stood guard at the periphery. The other 8 great disciples all rushed towards Xu Pengyue. However, how could they block the crazed Su Yan? The moment that blazing fist exploded, it caused Xu Pengyue to feel fear. This fist solidly smashed into his head, causing his head to explode. "You evil creature, I'll grind your bones to dust." Xu Fu's 8 disciples roared furiously. 8 heavenly gods were charging at them, and all of them were half-step grand cultivators. Every one of them was extremely powerful, and their dermic powers were shocking. Their auras pierced through the peak of the firmament and evolved into a vast chaotic killing intent. "Come here, all of you. I'm going to kill all of you today." Su Yan kicked Xu Pengyue's body until it exploded. He soared into the sky, his aura swallowing the rivers and mountains. His withered body continued to swallow the primal chaos heavenly essence, speeding up the process of accumulating the foundation needed for his god body. He felt that he would soon be able to cultivate his god body to a complete state. Could he be an expert from the burial realm? But now that the Milky Way galaxy was sealed and Su Yan was being hunted down by a demon race expert, he shouldn't be an expert from the burial realm. Is it him? At the end of the horizon, armored horses trampled the heavens. A group of experts with terrifying auras rushed over like a flood. Each of them emitted a terrifying martial aura that suppressed a corner of the universe. They could easily erupt with a might that could split the heavens and split the seas. Wu Hing nodded solemnly. He didn't expect Su Yan to reach this point. But he was fighting the experts of the Ancestral Hall. The longer he delayed, the greater the danger. The reason he was certain this person was Su Yan was because of Luo Dali's massacre on the battlefield. He didn't expect Su Yan to run into the sea of corpse blood. If there's a need, you can attack. Consider it repaying your kindness. The martial clan sent 10 experts. With the 2 Divine King in charge of holding the line, they were also ready to make a move. Of course, the martial clan wasn't willing to make a move unless it was a critical moment. Once the Ancestral Hall sensed this, the martial clan would be doomed to leave their homeland and the sea of corpse blood to avoid disaster. The bloody rain in the sea of corpse blood became more and more vast. The waves were magnificent, and the storm was surging violently. Xu Fu's 8 disciples charged straight at Su Yan. This was going to be a fierce battle. Even though Su Yan could blast apart celestial gods, it was still extremely strenuous for him to fight against peak celestial realm experts. Moreover, there were 8 celestial gods, and all of them were half-step almighty disciples. Kill! The sea of corpse blood continued to shake. Violent sounds of collision rang out everywhere, surging in all directions and sweeping through the mountains and rivers. Large swathes of territory sank in. The sea of corpse blood surged with a bloody light and released all kinds of divine abilities. People saw a figure facing off against the 8 heavenly gods. His heroic spirit radiated in all directions, filled with a domineering aura that could shatter everything. Dong! A man in golden armor swooped down and brandished his fist. It shook the stars in the outer realms as he smashed down on Su Yan's face. Su Yan's hair danced wildly. He directly formed a fist and punched back. It was as if a giant sun was burning in the sky. The moment the 2 fists collided, the entire universe was torn apart. Just the aftermath of this bloody battle pierced through the heavens. Su Yan's body trembled. It wasn't that he couldn't block this fist, but that the 8 experts had joined forces to attack Su Yan. Just the suppression of the power of primal chaos alone was enough to make Su Yan endure a great pressure. Ah! But what shocked people was that the expert who was exchanging blows with Su Yan let out a mournful cry. His entire body seemed to have shrunk by a bit. The blood energy in his body was declining, and his source of life was about to dry up. Solar Fist. Many experts were moved. This person had grasped the Solar Fist. Wasn't this the ultimate art of the Cosmos Business Alliance? Why did Su Yan grasp the Solar Fist? This scene shocked them greatly. The 8 experts had joined forces to besiege Su Yan, but they couldn't take him down even after a long time. So much so that every time they clashed with Su Yan, they would suffer the assault of a human-shaped weapon and were on the verge of shattering. Boom! A terrifying secret treasure suddenly awakened on the battlefield. Overflowing killing intent was awakened, and the blood-colored clouds in all directions were dispersed. The energy fluctuations were exceptionally shocking. This was a great killing weapon awakening. It was controlled by an ancestral hall expert who had struck down a great killing imprint. It could turn the universe upside down and destroy the sun and moon. It could easily crush experts and sink a territory. Buzz! At the same time, the energy within the 8 experts resonated and fiercely suppressed the soaring Su Yan. This great killing imprint also descended from the sky and suppressed the universe. The moment it overturned, it caused blood to flow out from Su Yan's mouth and nose. A corner of the imprint smashed into Su Yan's shoulder, causing it to cave in. At the same time, the 8 experts brought out all kinds of secret treasures and charged at Su Yan. Swords, sabers, staffs, and staff struck Su Yan until his body trembled and his flesh was lacerated. He was about to be killed by this situation. Big brother! Luo Dali roared. He wanted to rush over and help Su Yan, but it was useless. The experts besieging Luo Dali weren't any less than Su Yan. If he wasn't standing at the peak of the deity realm, he would have been killed long ago. Su Yan's whole body was covered in blood. His body staggered as he brought out the bronze furnace to protect himself. His blood-stained hair danced in the wind. His eyes were filled with dense killing intent as his chest heaved up and down violently. His cold eyes swept over the ancestral hall experts besieging him in all directions. A furious battle intent burned in his heart. Kiki, it's already at this point. What are you still struggling for? Hand over your life. Today, even the almighty experts won't be able to save you. Whoever comes will die. This is your fate. The gods of the ancestral hall looked up to the sky and laughed. This great killing weapon was unleashed once again. As it was activated, the heaven and earth became dark. A huge amount of divine force was drawn into the great killing weapon to brew a world-shaking attack. The sky was filled with raging winds and torrential rain. It was a scene that caused everyone's heart to tremble. In the broken corpse blood sea, killing lights danced, killing weapons filled the sky, and experts dominated the heavens. It was simply the birth of the gods' purgatory. Boundless waves rippled out and swept across all directions, shaking the mountains and rivers for millions of miles. Before the people arrived, the peerless killing intent was enough to suffocate the expert. The boundless mountains cracked open, forming huge black fissures. Many of the mountains had already begun to sink. Luo Deong. Luo Huaqing lost control and screamed. She couldn't control her emotions. She felt that it was because of her that Luo Deong was in danger. The people of the ancestral hall must have captured Luo Deong for the secrets in the depths of the corpse blood sea. The scene of mountains collapsing and seas splitting would cause even gods and devils to tremble. All kinds of killing lights rushed towards Su Yan. Everything was drowned out and nothing could be seen clearly. It's over. This kind of ruthless person can't live on. He has killed enough experts of the ancestral hall. But with the 8 heavenly deities of Zhu Fu's lineage and the other gods of the ancestral hall working together, who can stop this kind of killing? What a pity! If only we could find out about this kind of fierce person's identity. This battle is enough to be passed down through the ages in the blood region. What hope was there left? Many people couldn't bear to watch. The gods of the ancestral hall were too cruel. They were working together to suppress one person. Who could withstand this kind of killing situation? They were even wondering who this young man was. What kind of deep hatred did he have with the ancestral hall? Normally, when such a ruthless person appeared, the ancestral hall's young overlords would kill their way out and fight him. In this desperate situation, Su Yan had no choice but to swallow the remaining blue divine medicine clean. At this moment, Su Yan turned into an immortal blazing sun, resplendent and overflowing into the heavens. His body flowed with tens of thousands of rays of the great Tao. They were densely packed as they opened up a corner of the killing situation. The stars of the universe were pierced through one after another. The entire corpse blood sea seemed to be trembling. The energy fluctuations were too terrifying, attracting everyone's attention. They all saw a figure soar up from the killing. His withered body was approaching perfection. The gate to the divine realm was blasted open. Su Yan's aura madly surged. He was like an imprisoned dragon rising into the heavens. His aura rushed into the sea of stars, piercing through the heavens. He climbed to the peak of the fourth level of the God realm in one go. The aura he released tore apart the dome of heaven. Even the starry sky couldn't suppress his peerless elegance. The Silver Force armor's divine force even pushed Su Yan's divine force to the peak of the God realm. At this moment, Su Yan's aura swallowed up 100,000 li. It was like a terrifying emperor's star had erupted. Hand over your lives! With a loud roar, tens of thousands of mountains exploded. The majestic corpse blood sea seemed to be trembling. One after another, the experts of the ancestral hall were roared to death. It was a person who spat out tens of thousands of golden ripples. His magic power overflowed into the heavens, releasing tens of thousands of killing intents that swept through the world. People seemed to see an endless great Tao true dragon flashing between heaven and earth. Chapter 843. Ninth Heaven of the Divine Spirit Realm, Ninth Heaven of the Celestial God Realm. At the peak of the ninth heaven, one could enter the celestial God realm and traverse the primal chaos. And when 9 returned to 1, one could be called a king of the same generation and enter the king realm, which was also the divine king realm. Every celestial level of the God realm was extremely difficult to cultivate. After all, one had to accumulate abundant godly force in order to break through. Even the geniuses of the peak races would need about a year or so. If one cultivated slowly, they would need 10 years of accumulation. But Su Yan had just blasted open the divine spirit realm and directly climbed to the peak of the fourth heaven realm. One had to admit that it was quite abnormal and frightening. Especially with the help of the Silver Force armor, Su Yan directly stepped into the peak of the divine spirit realm. The peak of the divine spirit realm broke through the restrictions of a major realm and slaughtered the peak of the celestial God realm. Dong! He punched out with a fist and light shone brightly. Up until now, there were still galaxies descending from the sky and boiling around Su Yan, revealing the supreme profoundness of the Big Dipper fist. Martial path ascension, sweeping through the same generation. A large number of ancestral hall experts cried out miserably as their bodies exploded. Their hearts were filled with fear. They were scared stiff. This was definitely the suppression of the martial path, heavenly gate. This fist had destroyed the entire scene. Moreover, the power of the Big Dipper fist had soared by more than a level. In the past, when he was in the Great Tao realm, he couldn't kill a divine spirit realm expert even if he unleashed the Big Dipper fist at full power. But now it was different. This was a celestial secret technique. It was powerful to the peak and could defeat the peak of the celestial God realm. This fist smashed apart the ancestral hall experts one after another and destroyed the entire scene. It was a method of pushing through dry weeds and pulling tricks, surging violently. How did he suddenly become so strong? Those who were still alive were terrified. Some people even knelt down in worship. They really couldn't withstand the shocking divine might released by Su Yan. This kind of attitude caused an uproar among the spectators. Su Yan's fist had shattered the spirit and fighting spirit of the ancestral hall's deities. He was powerful beyond compare. At this moment, they also saw an invincible star of the same generation slowly rising. People were no longer like before when they called Su Yan the burial region's race's rising star. The power of this fist sealed Su Yan's position, displaying his peerless prestige. Regardless of whether it was the young generation's overlords or supreme beings, all of them truly felt reverence towards him. Madman Su is too terrifying. How many people in the same generation can look down on the deities of the ancestral hall? Could it be that Madman Su already has the battle prowess of a paragon? Otherwise, how could he be so strong? The buried region has truly produced an unrivaled young king of the younger generation. The future divine king has hope. Are we going to kill our way into the divine king's domain? The whole place was in an uproar. The residents of the blood region were filled with reverence from the bottom of their hearts. Before, they had only heard of the rising stars of the burial region race, but now they felt a kind of fear towards this person. He was so strong that it could be said to be abnormal. He killed so many gods in the ancestral palace that their blood flowed like a river. The three divine kings from the great Luo Empire were incomparably shocked. They were thinking, if Su Yan and Emperor Nan really fought, what kind of ending would it be? In the competition of the same generation, Su Yan had never been defeated. This kind of unrivaled path must have nurtured a peerless belief. He would never fear a paragon, and could even fight a paragon to the death. All heaven was silent. Su Yan had become so strong after breaking through. Could it be that he had really obtained the primal chaos source chi? Even King Flash had the same thought. If Su Yan had really obtained the primal chaos source chi, then his future achievements would be limitless. It was known as the strongest origin chi in the world. In fact, with Su Yan's current state, it was impossible for him to display the full power of the primal chaos source chi. In the future, when Su Yan stepped into the heavenly deity realm, or even the deity realm's king domain, then there would be a possibility for him to display the full power of the primal chaos source chi. Let's go, the gods of the ancestral hall who were still alive regained their senses. Their faces were full of humiliation. Previously, they were suppressed and knelt on the ground in a humiliating posture. Now that they had regained their senses, they wanted nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. They were the elites of the ancestral hall, and there were even disciples of half-step supreme experts. But kneeling in front of Su Yan was a humiliation that the ancestral hall could not bear. They would probably be severely punished when they returned to the ancestral hall. I already said that I will kill all of you. None of you will live. Su Yan was cold and emotionless. His divine might shocked the world. Flames surged between his 5 fingers, and his entire body rippled with killing intent that could break through the sky. Boom! This slap was like a mountain, interweaving the great Tao of the 5 elements. It was as if it had evolved into a 5 elements universe world. Just like that, it enveloped and suppressed the 3 ancestral hall experts first. Crack! These 3 experts did not even make a sound. Under Su Yan's universe slap, their bodies were torn apart and exploded into 3 clouds of blood mist. The surviving members of the ancestral hall were scared out of their wit. They fled in all directions. If they did not leave now, none of them would survive. If they all died in the corpse blood sea, it would be a disgrace to the ancestral hall. However, no matter how they fled, they could not escape from Su Yan's proximity. Shrinking earth into an inch activated, and the mountains and rivers began to flow in reverse. No matter how powerful their divine abilities were, they could not escape this area. They were truly in despair. What kind of great Tao was Su Yan cultivating? He seemed to be proficient in all kinds of great Taos, and had even evolved them to the pinnacle of his current stage. This was the effect of the chaotic source qi. It helped Su Yan to sublimate all chaos and grow in the chaos. With the source qi, Su Yan definitely grasped the strongest great Tao profundity at his current stage. He could unleash any divine ability or secret art to the pinnacle. Su Yan's shrinking earth into an inch could be said to have reached the acme of perfection. He killed a person with every step he took. Vile spawn, stop. The old divine king, who was holding the line at the periphery of the corpse blood sea, was furious. Although it was the divine king, the ones Su Yan killed were all elites of the ancestral hall. Even the death of one was not a small loss, let alone the fact that he had almost wiped out all the gods from the ancestral hall who were attacking the corpse blood sea. They were too arrogant. They felt that Su Yan could not kill his way out of the encirclement. How could Su Yan break through the encirclement of the ancestral hall's gods? Zhu Fu had even instructed them to hold the fort and prevent Su Yan from sneaking out. Now, even the old divine king could not help but charge forward. On the other hand, Zhu Fu's eldest disciple had already closed in. Zhu Kongning roared, "Su Yan, I'm going to sever your soul and make you suffer a fate worse than death." What kind of concept was this? 9 of Zhu Fu's top 10 disciples had been killed by Su Yan. If Zhu Fu had come out from the depths of the corpse blood sea, he would definitely go crazy. After all, his 9 disciples were all heavenly deities. If there was enough opportunity, one of them might be able to become the divine king. Su Yan had killed 9 of Zhu Kongning's junior brothers. He was shocked and furious. The divine king's aura erupted and tore through the sky. "Old thing, you're suppressing me with a higher realm. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Su Yan's eyes turned cold as he stared at Zhu Kongning. Thick blood essence overflowed from his body as the divine power of the great Tao circulated. He was like a condensed universe of myriad Taos, glowing and emitting heat. Boom! Zhu Kongning raised his palm and struck forward. This palm was so huge that it covered the sky. The divine king's power spread out and affected everything within 100,000 miles. This kind of shocking power was enough to destroy tens of thousands of mountains and overturn one mountain range after another. However, when Zhu Kongning's palm erupted, everyone was shocked. Su Yan's body was close to the ground as he swooped down. Has he gone mad? Even Luo Yuanjing and the others were shocked. This was a divine king attacking Su Yan, but Su Yan actually rushed forward. They admitted that Su Yan was strong. But a divine realm cultivator challenging the divine king? Even a top figure in the divine realm would be dreaming if he challenged the divine king, let alone a divine realm cultivator. If the gap between a divine realm cultivator and a divine realm cultivator was 10 times, then the gap between a divine realm cultivator and a divine king was 100 times. The king of the divine realm was a cultivator at the divine king's realm, the pillar of the peak of the clan. Although Su Yan had killed the divine king before, he had used external objects. But now, what did they see? Su Yan actually rushed over and wanted to meet the divine king head-on. His actions completely enraged Zhu Kongning. He was furious. He waved his palm, boundless and majestic, and the void collapsed. The energy contained in this palm was immeasurable. Boom! Everyone was stunned. Su Yan rushed over. In front of this vast power of the divine king, he also released his own light. The two collided, shaking heaven and earth. Blood splattered, dyeing the void red. Everyone was scared. Su Yan had taken out the great Tao immortal pearl at the critical moment to stabilize his body. But he had blocked the divine king's angry blow. Su Yan's fist was bleeding, and his body was trembling. But he had withstood the divine king's peerless power. Ha ha, the divine king is really strong. He was laughing. Everyone could see that if it weren't for the great Tao immortal pearl, Su Yan would have been seriously injured or even killed. But he could rely on the protection of a sex treasure to withstand the divine king's angry blow. This was shocking enough. Even Su Yan wanted to fight the Divine King head-on. He wanted to truly understand how strong an immortal realm king was. Without a doubt, Su Yan would have been seriously injured in a head-on collision. Even if his body was one level stronger, he would still be seriously injured. There was no way he could withstand the power of an immortal realm king. Zhu Kongning's face was gloomy. He had thought that he could take Su Yan's entire arm, but he didn't expect his body to be so ridiculously strong. "You can't keep me here." These were Su Yan's words. The old divine king, who was guarding the periphery of the corpse blood sea, looked gloomy. In this situation, if Su Yan really wanted to leave, could the divine king stop him? All of a sudden, people wondered if Su Yan could run amok in the cultivation world under the half-step almighty figure level. "They can't keep you here, but this old man can wring your head off and make it into a wine pot." There was a low roar, and a blurry light of order appeared in the depths of the corpse blood sea. The moment it exploded, it seemed to cut off time and penetrate the universe, filling the peak of the sky in an instant. "Oh no!" Luo Yuanjing and the others' faces changed. There was indeed a half-step immortal in the dark. Zhu Fu's power came crashing down. Su Yan took out the furnace of heaven and earth and used the Great Path Immortal Pearl to protect his body. Even so, the supreme power of a half-step immortal made the two secret treasures tremble. The blurry light of order was like a million mountains arranged here, about to crush Su Yan. Cough! Su Yan coughed up blood. His body staggered, and he was about to fall to the ground at any time. His eyes were a little dark, and he couldn't stand steadily. However, his eyes still emitted a cold light. He said angrily, "Old man, one day I'll wring your head off and make it into a chamber pot." Boom! The vast territory trembled. The scene of mountains collapsing and seas splitting, and the killing intent of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood filled the entire place. Zhu Fu's hair was disheveled, and his old face was distorted. Su Yan had slaughtered 9 of his top 10 disciples. This caused him to go mad with hatred. He let out a mournful cry, and a mountain range exploded. The onlookers trembled. The half-step almighty had gone mad as he screamed, "You little bastard! I'm going to catch you and crush every bone in your body. I'm going to crush every drop of your blood. I'm going to make you beg for death." His entire body rushed over like a scene from the end of the universe. His killing intent was boundless as he went berserk in the face of a half-step powerhouse. The godly kings of the various races were shocked. Such a character was targeting a junior? Shameless. The 3 divine kings of the Daluo dynasty frowned. This was too shameless. A dignified figure targeting a god, come here. I'll kill you with one punch and relieve you of your pain. Su Yan's killing intent surged. His clothes were torn apart. On his fist, there was a majestic aura that could shake a corner of the universe. It was a dragon that crawled out and coiled around Su Yan's fist. Unparalleled Dragon Fist. Chapter 844. Su Yan. Zhu Fu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. His 9 personal disciples had died in Su Yan's hands, a pain he couldn't bear. Su Yan had destroyed half of his life's work. 9 heavenly deities had all died tragically in Su Yan's hands. Moreover, they had fallen in such a humiliating manner. How would he have the face to meet his peers in the future? This was truly a disgrace. Boom! The cold, killing light tore through the firmament. The energy fluctuations were intense to the extreme and shook the heaven and earth. The wrath of a half-step almighty and the light of order tore apart a corner of the universe, emitting flames of fury capable of slaughtering gods and Buddhas. Hundreds of thousands of territories were trembling. The vast corpse blood sea was about to sink completely. The appearance of a mad demon and the heart-wrenching fury caused the sun and moon to become silent and dim. Even the ancient sea of stars was trembling along with him. These scenes alarmed all the experts. Large amounts of cultivators fled in panic. This was because many cultivators had already been affected. Many mountains collapsed, covering large amounts of cultivators who were fleeing. A foul wind and a rain of blood swept up in the corpse blood sea. A giant who was about to step into the realm of Supreme had intimidated the experts of the various clans. Mad, the half-step Almighty has gone mad. 9 of his 10 personal disciples have been killed by Su Yan, and they even died under his feet. The half-step Almighty's fury has overwhelmed his heart. I thought he was going to break through the realm of Supreme. These fluctuations are too frightening. Millions of miles of territory are about to be suppressed. Is he going to sweep through a vast region and bury millions of lives along with it? Xu Fu has really gone mad. He's unleashing his fury regardless of the consequences. The distant world was trembling. The source was a sea of dark red. Resplendent killing light was released and illuminated the starry sky. It was bone-chillingly cold. Even the important figures of the Feng family were shocked. Xu Fu had really gone mad. They still remembered how Xu Fu had ascended the Feng family's peerless stance some time ago. He had even wanted to forcefully interrogate the murderer of Xu Hongtu. But now, Xu Fu's hair was disheveled and his eyes were wide open. He let out a sorrowful roar as blood flowed out from the corners of his eyes. Xu Fu's fury was directed at a single god, but it had to be said that his lungs were about to explode. His hair was standing on end, and millions upon millions of blurry light of order gushed out of his withered body. It was truly terrifying. The divine king was terrified, and the heavenly deities fell to the ground one by one. This was only a half-step grand cultivator, but he was already so terrifying. The dense light of order seemed to have evolved into a universe that could burn the world and crush it. "I'll kill you!" Xu Fu's swallowing roar exploded. He wanted to swallow Su Yan whole and skin him alive. The 9 disciples had died tragically, and not only had the gods of the ancestral hall failed to capture Su Yan, they had even been completely wiped out by him. This was completely helping Su Yan achieve his fame. Wu Heng's face was pale. In fact, every time he heard about the storm that Su Yan had stirred up in the cultivation world, Wu Heng was filled with emotions. His realm and combat strength were more and more astonishing each time. This person had really killed his way to where he was now. Back in the Big Dipper constellation, he had killed his way from the Tao Gate realm to the Ziwei segmentum, then from the Ziwei segmentum to the Milky Way, then from the Milky Way to the Fey Court. Now, he had stirred up a terrifying storm of blood in the blood realm. But now, Su Yan had already ascended to the realm of the gods. He had massacred the gods of the ancestral hall and was a peerless talent who dared to compete for supremacy. As long as he didn't die, he would be a peerless overlord in the future, a terrifying leader who could look down on the world. But now, the fury of a half-step grand cultivator had destroyed the mountains and the rivers. Rocks and dust were rolling in the sky. But all of this was comparable to the murderous calamity that many half-step grand cultivators had unleashed when they were furious. Billions of blurry light of order gushed out, instantly cutting off time and space and shattering the universe. It was enough to shake time and time. Rumble! Su Yan's ultimate treasure, the furnace of heaven and earth, was trembling. This ultimate treasure, which was comparable to the sacred weapon of a grand cultivator, couldn't withstand the power of order that was about to crush Su Yan. It was like millions of mountains were arranged here, about to crush Su Yan into a pulp. At this moment, Su Yan was confronting a half-step grand cultivator head-on. Only then did he truly understand the power and prosperity of this realm. This was a declining half-step grand cultivator, but he was able to swallow a large region. It was boundlessly terrifying. Slash! Xu Fu released the flames of anger in his chest. He gathered his own energy and covered 1,000,000 miles of the sky. The moment he struck down, mountains collapsed and seas cracked. Gods and ghosts wailed. The vast territory was torn apart. Everything became blurry. Many people were dumbfounded and their bodies stiffened. They were frightened by this divine power. Even the souls of the experts were trembling, let alone them. At this moment, it was like the doomsday scene of the birth of the universe. The blurry world began to tremble and even evaporate. What kind of scene was this? This was a bloody scene that was about to destroy the entire region. It's over. Madman Su is really finished. Under Zhu Fu's fury, not to mention Su Yan, even a divine king wouldn't be able to escape this fatal misfortune. A glorious battle has come to an end. Su Yan didn't live in vain. Who can escape the attack of a half-step grand cultivator? Unless Su Yan is Qiuming, only then will he have any hope of escaping. However, Su Yan's strength is destined to go down in history. But I don't think it's a glorious battle at all. The entire scene was suffocating. Even more people admired Su Yan from the bottom of their hearts. Slaughtering the gods of the ancestral hall and wreaking havoc in the ancestral court of the demon realm. These major events had made Su Yan famous. Even if he had fallen now, his name would still go down in history. Luo Deong, Luo Huaqing was heartbroken. His voice was hoarse and tears rolled down from his eyes. His body was prostrated on the ground as he trembled. This was the attack of a half-step grand cultivator, a giant who was about to step into the peak. Even if the three divine kings of the great Luo Empire were to attack, they wouldn't be able to withstand Zhu Fu's fury. The experts from the martial clan were also in despair. They wouldn't hesitate to stop the two divine kings. But they couldn't stop a half-step grand cultivator unless their martial clan's patriarch intervened. Once that patriarch intervened, the martial clan's destruction would come. Big brother! Luo Dali roared madly. His messy hair stood on end and his muscles bulged. The power of the peak of the god realm in his body was going out of control. It was about to pierce through the chaos and rush into the heavenly god realm. In such a scene, many people sympathized with Su Yan. They didn't expect him to end up in such a situation. In fact, they felt that Su Yan's glorious battle hadn't come yet. If he could fight with the Supremes, it would definitely fulfill his wish. However, just as the vast ocean of order that filled the sky was about to crush Su Yan, the submerged and blurry figure suddenly became tens of thousands of times more dazzling than before. Wisps of supreme might were also instantly released, engulfing everything within 1,000,000 kilometers, and affecting the vast land of the Blood Realm. At this moment, many old monsters in the Blood Realm came out of seclusion and looked at the corpse Blood Sea. The Feng family's Supremes were alarmed and awakened from their slumber. They were bewildered because the moment this ancient aura appeared, the Blood Realm rumbled as if it was resonating. What kind of aura was this? How could it cause the Blood Realm's energy to resonate? Look, what is that? Why is there such a strong energy fluctuation? Has the peak killing array been activated? Madman Su still has a trump card that he hasn't used yet. Many people cried out in alarm. The light of order filled the sky and covered millions of miles of mountains and rivers. But now, a large crack opened as if a universe had been unsealed. It emitted the power of trillions of universes and rushed to the peak of the starry skies, piercing through the ancient sea of stars. A true dragon's blood energy was vast and mighty, suppressing the entire space-time. Even the stars and moons in the sky were trembling. It was as if an unparalleled expert had awoken from the ancient times. When he fully erupted, space-time collapsed. Batch after batch of experts trembled. There were even god-kings whose blood and chi were in chaos. They could not stand still and were sent flying one after another. This was especially true for Zhu Fu. His aged body was covered in goosebumps, and a great fear arose in his heart. He had definitely been targeted by a prehistoric creature. It made his hair stand on end, and he started to tremble uncontrollably. The entire world was excessively quiet. Everything erupted with this aura, causing the sun and moon to fall into eternal silence and the sea of stars to vanish. The ancient blood realm also resonated. This fist seemed to have penetrated through the ages and spanned across the entire blood realm. Kill! A loud roar exploded, tearing apart everyone's eardrums. It was a shadow that was released in a blurry world. The dragon fist was peerless and looked down on everything. This fist alone caused the world to explode. It was as if it had pierced through reincarnation, seen eternity, and defeated all the immortals and demons in the sky. The true dragon's arm was invincible and unstoppable. Such a terrifying scene caused the divine king's hair to stand on end. He couldn't withstand the force that had pierced through the universe and retreated quickly. He felt that something terrifying had happened. Bang! The power of order constructed by the half-step powerhouses exploded like the most magnificent fireworks in history. The moment it bloomed, the fist had left thousands of holes in the ocean of order and evaporated the energy source of the half-step powerhouses. Ah! Shrill screams were also heard. Everyone present was scared out of their wit. They saw Xu Fu, who had rushed out of the sea of corpse blood and was about to pounce on Su Yan. At this moment, his chest had been pierced through. A terrifying bloody hole spewed out a monstrous rain of blood, crushing layers of the void and creating a large rift valley in the ground. The sky was weeping blood as if it was crying. The scene of a half-step powerhouse dying was extremely shocking. A strange phenomenon appeared in the world. Bloody light bloomed and surged violently. It was brewing a drifting rain of blood. This fist had solidly penetrated his heart. The dragon fist was peerless and evaporated all the blood and essence in Xu Fu's body. He didn't even have time to react. At this moment, Xu Fu was facing a terrifying giant, a prehistoric creature. At this moment, Xu Fu was like a statue. Even his soul was quickly evaporated. His eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. How could Su Yan wield such power? How could he kill a half-step powerhouse with one punch? His trembling eyes stared at the bloody hole in his chest. Finally, he let out a shrill scream. I hate, bang! Xu Fu directly shattered, exploding into ashes. Chapter 845. The vast territory was filled with the thick smell of blood. There was even a tragic aura that spread out, sending chills down the experts' spines. They were terrified, and their legs did not listen to them. This was the tragic aura of a fallen half-step mighty figure. How could they not be shocked? They even thought that they had seen wrongly. What did they just see? A half-step mighty figure had rushed out from the depths of the corpse blood sea. However, in the process of chasing after Su Yan, his body had been penetrated by a supreme power, and the source of life in his body had been shattered. In the end, he had exploded into a bloody mist. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? That was a half-step mighty figure, and he had died in the corpse blood sea just like that. He did not even have the time to unleash his strongest foundation before his body was penetrated by the supreme power, and all the source of life in his body had been evaporated. Wow! The entire place was in chaos. All the onlookers trembled as if they had seen the fury of the ancestral hall. Even the mighty figure was roaring. That was a half-step mighty figure. In just 1 or 2 years, the ancestral hall had lost a mighty figure, and now, another half-step mighty figure had died. Even if a pinnacle race faced such a blow, it would be enough to break their bones and weaken their vitality. Although the ancestral hall was recognized as the strongest powerhouse among the pinnacle races of the universe, the fall of a half-step almighty was an extremely heavy blow to the entire race. A half-step mighty figure is dead. Xu Fu was killed by a punch? The experts of the Feng family found it hard to believe. How did Su Yan do it? Could it be that he had a mighty figure following him? Even if Su Yan had a supreme treasure refined by a mighty figure, it was impossible for him to crush a half-step mighty figure in a single blow. Xu Fu did not even have the time to fight for his life before he was killed without leaving a single drop of blood. This method was so cruel, overbearing, and bloody that even the divine king's expression changed. he had a deep fear of Su Yan in his heart. Mn, that scared me to death, Wu Hing broke out in cold sweat. He didn't expect Su Yan to be in control of such a great weapon. He could kill a half-step almighty as he wished. Some people even felt that Su Yan's great weapon might be able to threaten almighties. Of course, it could not threaten a mighty figure's life. However, the strength of the true dragon's arm made Su Yan's heart tremble. Unfortunately, this thing had a huge appetite. Who could feed the dragon totem? The dragon totem's foundation every time it was revived? Did you see it? The three great kings of the Daluo Empire were still able to remain calm. They frequently conversed and discussed. They could vaguely see Su Yan waving his fist and striking out a true dragon. However, the image was rather blurry and there was a terrifying pressure of time. Was it a forbidden item from prehistoric times? The Divine King frowned. Even as strong as they were, they could not see what kind of trump card Su Yan had. However, it was a fact that a half-step mighty figure had been reduced to ashes. It was an unchangeable fact. On the contrary, Su Yan was still alive. He was still standing between heaven and earth. However, his back looked a little tall, and many could only look up at his back. Should I call you Luo Daong or Su Yan in the future? Luo Huaqing bit her red lips. Her face had regained some color. She stared blankly at Su Yan's back. It was hard to imagine that this person had followed her as a battle servant for a period of time. Luo Huaqing's SS was complicated. She did not want this person to be Su Yan, but Luo Daong, Patriarch, the two divine kings from the ancestral hall cried out in fear. That was Patriarch Zhu Fu. Now, he had died at Su Yan's hands and was reduced to ashes. The two divine kings were terrified. Their hearts were filled with fear. How were they going to explain it when they returned? The gods had fallen, and the half-step mighty figure had been killed. Only the divine king of Zhu Fu's lineage was left. Zhu Jingtian roared with hatred. Su Yan. His sharp gaze landed on the figure that was still standing between heaven and earth. He growled, Su Yan, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Don't go. The divine king of the ancestral hall was terrified. He did not want to provoke this madman anymore. He felt that only a half-step mighty figure could suppress Su Yan. Zhu Fu had been killed. If Zhu Jingtian had died in Su Yan's hands, then Zhu Fu's lineage would have no successor and would be completely ruined. This kind of influence would be too great. Zhu Jingtian's crazy attack attracted everyone's attention. However, they did not know whether to laugh or cry. When Zhu Jingtian's power landed on Su Yan's body, the shadow shattered and disappeared without a trace. The scene in the arena was very strange. Su Yan had disappeared. To be more precise, he had taken advantage of the moment when the experts were stunned to run away. If he did not leave now, when would he leave? He only hoped that the ancestral hall's half-step mighty figure would not come. If the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor really came, it would be impossible for him to leave. Su Yan. Zhu Jingtian screamed miserably. Su Yan had escaped. This meant that he had used up all of his trump cards and missed the best opportunity to kill Su Yan. This made Zhu Jingtian hold his head and roar in anger. He was the only one left in his lineage. The others were all his disciples and grand-disciples. They were completely useless. How were they supposed to fight Su Yan? Boom. Even the Feng family thought that Su Yan had run far away. However, they did not expect that after a short period of silence, the region hundreds of thousands of li away suddenly trembled. Not good. Luo Yuanjing's face changed. They turned around and saw a terrifying scene. First, the world in the distance changed. Large stars appeared one after another. These were real stars that came from the outer space like dumplings falling into a pot. They fell down uniformly and filled the vast territory. Rivers of stars also fell. The Milky Way of the 9 heavens descended, rippling with a terrifying energy source. As a result, at the end of the horizon, the sea of stars fell, covering the sky and the sun. It evolved into a terrifying world pattern before their eyes. The divine king was shocked. What kind of method was this? Cutting off a sea of stars and evolving a grand pattern, sealing the sky and the earth. A grandmaster of the occult sect, the three great kings of the Daluo dynasty, were shocked. It must be a grandmaster of the occult sect. How did Su Yan provoke a grandmaster of the occult sect? Looking at the cultivation world, the only grandmaster of the occult sect lineage is definitely from the Chaos Ruins. The Han family. The people of the Feng family were shocked. The Han family was a very ancient clan with generations of occult sect grandmasters. Every generation of occult sect grandmasters could talk to mighty figures as equals. This clan was famous in the Chaos Ruins. After all, the Chaos Ruins were extremely dangerous. There were many places with no life, requiring the experts of the Han family to open the way. Over time, this lineage's influence in the universe grew bigger and bigger. Over the long years, they had also accumulated a shocking foundation. It was rumored that the ancestor of this clan once produced an 8th-grade grandmaster of the occult sect who suppressed a mighty figure. Although a long time had passed, there were no rumors of an 8th-grade grandmaster of the occult sect emerging from the Han family. However, the lingering might of the ancient clan continued for many epochs. However, this clan rarely appeared in the cultivation world. They had always stayed in the Chaos Ruins. Not good, this is not good. Wu Heng's hair stood on end. Su Yan had mastered the secret technique of the Strange Gate. Could it be that this clan had come here for the secret technique that Su Yan had mastered? Luo Tiandu also thought of many things. The reason why Zhu Fu knew that Su Yan was in the corpse blood sea was definitely because of this occult sect grandmaster. This old monster who had always been hiding in the dark had already made his move and even sealed off the area. This was definitely Su Yan's escape route. Su Yan's face was gloomy. In the world he was in, the sea of stars was illusory and the sun and moon were aligned. It was as if the heavens were falling, rumbling and rotating. With every breath, Su Yan faced the threat of having his bones crushed. What is this place? Luo Deli still hadn't reacted. He thought that he had entered some kind of danger zone. However, Su Yan knew that this was a type of occult sect's power. It was a supreme method that could change the heavens and the earth. An expert who was proficient in the power of the heavens had sealed the heavens and trapped Su Yan within. Su Yan wasn't proficient in the power of the heavens and only had a rough grasp of it. He was only proficient in the power of the heavens and the earth. There were strong and weak powers in the heavens and the earth. However, Su Yan hadn't stepped into the 7th grade domain realm. It was impossible for him to exert the power of the earth to the extent that he could compete with the power of the heavens. If he really reached this step, there was no need for him to use the power of the dragon totem. He could just use the power of the earth to escape, and the half-step Almighties wouldn't be able to block his path. I've passed through 81 difficulties but failed miserably. Su Yan clenched his fists. It was definitely this occult sect grandmaster who brought Zhu Fu and the others into the corpse blood sea. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. At the same time, his appearance also ruined Su Yan's great fortune. Since you're here, why don't you come out? Su Yan forcibly suppressed the anger in his heart. Although the dragon totem still had power, Su Yan didn't know how much power it could release. It definitely wasn't as powerful as when it was at its peak. All of a sudden, a shadow appeared in the disillusioned sea of stars. His body was stooped, and although he wasn't very big, there was a kind of fluctuation that made one's heart palpitate faintly. Young man, you can keep your composure. The Han family's grandmaster looked at Su Yan with a pair of turbid eyes and said coldly, "You're indeed worthy of being the outstanding talent of my occult sect. This old man's horizons have been broadened. What do you want? Just say it directly. There's no need to beat around the bush." Su Yan's face darkened. He had already guessed the Grandmaster's identity. You should know the purpose of my visit. The Han family's Grandmaster's face was cold. He said, I want to borrow the Occult Sects chapter and the Earth's chapter. Hand it over. The disillusioned sea of stars evaporated with all kinds of resplendent brilliance. His tone was unquestionable. Every word he said shook the sea of stars, the sun and the moon. The scene was like the sea. The Han family's Grandmaster looked down at Su Yan, waiting for him to take the initiative to hand over the Earth's chapter. Chapter 846. This was a naked threat. The old Grandmaster of the Han family had hidden his strength well. He had waited until now to make his move. He knew clearly that Su Yan, who had the guts to enter the depths of the blood altar, definitely had some trump cards. In this space where the sea of stars was vanishing, a terrifying pressure came and revealed a terrifying airflow. Even Su Yan, who stood at the peak of the divine state, couldn't defeat a 7th-grade Grandmaster of the occult arts. Even the combat strength of this Grandmaster of the Chiman sect was strong enough. Su Yan did not know how much power the dragon totem could unleash, and whether it could help him break out of this killing trap. I do know the occult arts. Su Yan clenched his fist and said, but I don't know what the topography chapter you are talking about is. Haha, the old Grandmaster of the Han family's face slowly darkened. He was already very old and his body was bent. Now, he looked like a ghost. He said eerily, little guy, you're not honest. You don't know what's good for you. Do you want me to force you to confess? The sea of stars in the sky sank and the aura was suffocating. It was enough to destroy the world. Force me to confess. Su Yan's eyes flashed coldly. He stared at him and said, I don't have any enmity with you, do I? Does the Zhongyu clan have any enmity with your clan? What? You want to use the Zhongyu clan to pressure me? The old Grandmaster of the Han family said with disdain. He then laughed angrily and said, your clan can't even protect itself. Although you have some resources, can you do anything to the Han family? You're a smart man. I hope you'll think carefully before answering me. I said, I don't know what the geography chapter is. Su Yan took a deep breath and said slowly, if you want to force me, then try. I, Su Yan, am not a pushover. I can kill a half-step grand cultivator, so I won't be afraid of you. What a young man. Grandmaster Han was enraged. In this world where the sea of stars was destroyed, all kinds of terrifying energies were boiling. Killing lights began to burn everywhere and were about to strike down and crush them into ashes. Faced with such a situation, ordinary experts would really collapse. However, Su Yan was unafraid. He stood tall between heaven and earth, looking incomparably cold. It seems that you are very confident. Show me your weapon of mass destruction. Haha, how much power can you exert? I have seen many powerful means. Old Grandmaster Han smiled sinisterly. Are you threatening me? Just you? This old man has crossed more bridges than you have walked on road. What kind of dangerous place have I not seen? Old Grandmaster Han looked as if he was certain that Su Yan would be defeated. He said coldly, let me remind you that the experts from the Ancestral Hall will be here soon. You should know the consequences if you continue to hesitate. Hand over what you shouldn't have. He was on the verge of losing control. However, old Grandmaster Han was really afraid of Su Yan. Otherwise, he would have already made a move. He was worried that Su Yan would act without considering the consequences. If that happened, he would not be able to obtain anything. What did I take that I shouldn't have? Su Yan said coldly. Even if I have the Mystic Gate chapter, what does it have to do with the Han family? My Han family is the founder of the Mystic Gate. We are the masters of the Mystic Gate. What is there to question? The Han family's Grandmaster laughed loudly. Haven't I reminded you enough? What did that girl from the sky bamboo branch give you? Hand it over as soon as possible. It's Chiu Ming. Su Yan's eyes widened in anger. His chest heaved violently. This bastard, he was definitely the one who told the Han family. Otherwise, why would the Han family pay attention to him? Su Yan did not forget that Qiu Ming had used a supreme treasure to almost kill him. Now, the miser's whereabouts were unknown. He had fallen into the blood realm and was dug out from a pile of corpses by Luo Huaqing. The events of that year were still vivid in his mind. Su Yan's heart rippled with boundless anger. This was already the second time. He would never have thought that someone like Qiu Ming would secretly plot against him. What, are you angry? The Han family's grandmaster sneered. I admit that you are strong enough and have a certain level of prestige and standard among the younger generation. However, someone like Qiu Ming is not someone you can provoke. He is about to enter the almighty domain. Do you think you can compete with Qiu Ming? With a single word from him, you will not be able to move an inch in the chaos ruins. What hope do you have to lead your clan to rise in the future? Don't cause any more trouble for yourself. The Han family had high hopes for Qiu Ming. They had already regarded him as the clan's son-in-law. After all, with Qiu Ming's current achievements, he was a peerless powerhouse in the Divine King's domain. Young powerhouses like Emperor Nan were not enough to stand beside him. Almost all the major clans in the Chaos Ruins would give face to Qiu Ming. After all, this kind of young overlord with terrifying potential was almost certain to become an almighty powerhouse. No matter how heaven-defying an individual's achievements in the deity realm were, they were still not almighty powerhouses. However, Qiu Ming was different. Even the almighties of the major clans believed that Qiu Ming could break through to the almighty domain at any time. However, he still wanted to accumulate a strong enough foundation in the Divine King's domain. That was why he chose to break through. If the Han family really obtained the terrain chapter, then the Han family would have a rank 8 Grandmaster. That would be heaven-defying. They would definitely be able to sweep through all the major danger zones and dig out many fortunes. They might even be able to find the legendary immortal medicine. Therefore, obtaining the terrain chapter was also very important to Qiu Ming. After saying so much, you actually don't know whether I have the terrain chapter or not. Su Yan suddenly sneered. Do you really think that the sky bamboo lineage would let me keep such a valuable thing? Don't you think too highly of me? The Han family's grandmaster's face darkened. His cold eyes stared at Su Yan. Finally, he sneered. If you don't have it, I will take you to the sky bamboo lineage. You can guess what the consequences will be. Shameless. Luo Deli was incomparably furious. A grandmaster of the occult arts who had lived for so long was now using the bamboo moon to threaten Su Yan. Impudent. The Han family's grandmaster's eyes suddenly became extremely terrifying. In his eyes, the sun and moon were destroyed. A terrifying light shot out and swept towards Luo Deli. Stop. Su Yan's expression greatly changed. How could Luo Deli resist this kind of pressure? He roared in anger as his majestic body collapsed. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere. His entire body was on the verge of shattering. Luo Deli clenched his fists and endured the pain. His cold eyes stared at the Han family's grandmaster. I will give you a chance now. If you don't explain yourself in 3 breaths, I will crush him into pieces. The Han family's grandmaster could no longer wait. The longer he delayed, the greater the accident. This old bastard! Su Yan cursed in his heart. His eyes were wide open. Once the occult arts chapter was handed over to the Han family, everything would be over. At that time, if the Han family produced an 8th grade occult arts grandmaster, their prestige would be unimaginable. 1. The Han family's grandmaster's killing intent surged, causing the vast sea of stars to rumble. That unparalleled killing intent covered Luo Deli's body. As long as he willed it, Luo Deli would die at any time. However, this scene was captured by the experts in the outside world who were paying attention to the situation. All the major powers were shocked. Was this a killing move? Su Yan could kill Zhu Fu, But could he really take out another trump card of the same level? 2. The Han family's Grandmaster's voice became colder and colder. As his voice fell, Su Yan was about to use all his trump cards. The Divine King's Bodyguard, the 5 Elements Sword Diagram, the Universal Furnace, and a series of other treasures were about to resonate with the Dragon Totem. Boom! Resplendent holy light suddenly ignited, and the divine sound of the great Tao rumbled. It was as if a holy object had fallen from the heavens, dazzling and resplendent. It rushed into the sea of stars, releasing billions of layers of light of order. It was as if a Supreme Being's hand was covering everything. Supreme Being's holy weapon, the spectators exclaimed. Some experts secretly took action, joining hands to take out a Supreme Being's holy weapon. In an instant, a corner of the sea of stars was cut open. The power of the Supreme Being's holy weapon surged out, shattering countless stars in the universe. The Han family's Grandmaster was furious. Who was it? This Supreme Being's holy weapon had its original appearance concealed. It directly slashed down, cutting open a corner of the sea of stars. What made the crowd boil was that another terrifying pressure filled the entire place. The divine might was vast, suppressing the entire universe. Another Supreme Being's holy weapon had slashed out. Endless light shone, riddling the entire starry sky with thousands of holes. Hurry up and leave this place, a martial race expert warned. The 2 Supreme Beings' holy weapons were taken out, and they erupted with their strongest domain. The scene was shocking. The light of order covered millions of miles of territory. At this moment, the souls of many experts were trembling. They directly knelt down, trembling in fear. A Supreme Being's holy weapon was, after all, forged by a Supreme Being with blood, sweat, and tears. It was equivalent to a Supreme Being's hand pressing down here. But now, the 2 Supreme Beings' holy weapons were directly taken out, forcibly tearing apart the sea of stars. Their might was terrifying. Bastard! The Han family's Grandmaster was enraged. The layout he had laid down was directly pierced through by the Supreme Being's holy weapon. The sea of stars collapsed, and broken stars drifted about. The vast territory was on the verge of destruction. Hurry up and leave. A voice came, causing Su Yan's mind to shake. It was Wu Heng's voice. There was definitely a martial race expert taking action, and even the 3 great kings of the Great Luo dynasty were secretly controlling a Supreme Being's holy weapon. The 2 Daesong's holy weapon struck down, causing the vast territory to tremble. The energy fluctuations were too vast. Following that, killing light rushed into the sky. The light of order burned, and the universe's stars exploded one after another. This scene was hard to imagine. This was the power of a Supreme Being's holy weapon. It was unimaginably powerful. Regardless of whether it was Su Yan's great Tao Immortal Pearl or the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth, they had not reached this level. Heavens! However, at the moment when the ancient star sea was torn apart, an unparalleled expert was awakening. Blood essence overflowed in all directions, filling the vast land of the blood realm. This was a terrifying expert taking action. The moment that unparalleled divine might rushed down, it swallowed the entire region, and blood essence overflowed. The entire land of the blood realm was shocked. In the vast land, majestic ancient cities shook, and the mountains resonated. The divine might was so vast that it made the divine king's hair stand on end. This was definitely the aura of a Supreme Being awakening. Chapter 847. At the end of the starry sky, a figure appeared. This figure crushed the sea of stars and overlooked the entire blood realm. Moreover, he was awakening. A terrifying aura rippled out as vast amounts of essence blood spread out, sweeping through the vast blood realm. The essence blood of a Supreme Being was enough to suppress a vast starfield. This was the embodiment of lawlessness. It was grand to the extreme, and even the boundless rivers and mountains began to rise and fall on their own. This type of aura, in particular, targeted the corpse blood sea, caused the entire region to collapse. The cracks were endless, and countless creatures were crawling on the ground while trembling. They were directly suppressed and couldn't move in the slightest. Supreme Being, the Divine King's expression changed. How could something so outrageous happen? They were only targeting Su Yan, so why would a Supreme Being act? This kind of existence was supreme and didn't care about worldly affairs. Normally, they would rarely act, but because of Su Yan's matter, a Supreme Being couldn't help but act. Just how important was Su Yan? Why would a Supreme Being appear? Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor. When the figure from the end of the starry sky became clear, the experts of various races felt their hearts tremble. The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor had jumped out at this juncture. This was definitely because of Su Yan. The entire Feng family was alarmed. This didn't make sense. Even if Su Yan was heaven-defying and wanted to kill Su Yan, he wouldn't force out a Supreme Being. Only the Ancestral Hall's Ancestral Hall would be able to kill him. However, what kind of secrets did Su Yan have that actually attracted the attention of an Almighty? This caused them to be really shocked. The ancient ancestor has arrived. The two divine kings trembled and roared. Su Yan cannot escape this calamity. The ancient ancestor has finally made his move. He has finally made his move. They really wanted this matter to come to an end. The Ancestral Hall had suffered disastrous losses during this period, but they couldn't capture Su Yan. Moreover, the Ancestral Hall's prestige had fallen. They hoped this matter would come to an end. In the ancestral land of the Feng clan, a terrifying aura was faintly emitted. The Almighty of the Feng clan could no longer sit still and began to awaken. Vast amounts of blood essence flowed out from his body and covered the entire blood-filled city. At the same time, a pair of pupils opened. The eyes of the Feng family's almighty expert looked at the ancient ancestor of the Ancestral Hall. He frowned. With the status of the Ancestral Hall's almighty expert, wasn't it a bit too much to put down his pride to target a junior? I told you to hand it over, but you didn't. Let's see who can save you now. The old Grandmaster of the Han family laughed angrily. He believed that with the strength of the Han family and the deterrence of Chiu Ming's bloodline, the Ancestral Hall would not dare to touch the Mysterious Gates topography chapter. Although it would be somewhat troublesome to ask for it when the time came, this thing would most likely be obtained. Ancestral Hall Ancient Ancestor. Su Yan's fists were tightly clenched bitterly. He had always wanted to know why the Ancestral Hall's supreme expert wanted to capture him. Just what secrets did he have? Rumble. The land of Qian Koan shook. The aura was too grand. The vast land of blood domain reverberated with the aura of the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor, causing the entire land of blood domain to fall into chaos and panic. A supreme expert had made his move, and it was extremely powerful. Especially the sacred weapons of the two sects that split open the ancient star sea. They were all rumbling and trembling. No matter how strong the sacred weapons were, it was impossible for them to block the attack of a supreme expert. After all, these weapons were forged by the experts of their domain. This is great. I didn't expect the Ancestral Hall to send a supreme expert. The Martial clan smiled bitterly. They had already tried their best. Even if the entire Martial clan used all their resources, they might not be able to block the ancient ancestor of the Ancestral Hall. The Big Dipper starfield was an example. The clan was once a peak force with a unique starfield structure. Even so, it was extremely difficult to block a supreme expert. 1. The aura of the supreme expert had completely closed in. The sacred weapons of the two sects dimmed as everything was suppressed. Wherever the Almighty was, the starry sky of the universe was dim. Everything fell into silence. Everything was suppressed by the aura released by the Almighty, and all the creatures in the universe wanted to submit to his feet. I hope it's really you. The ancient ancestor of the Ancestral Hall muttered softly. It was hard to hear him clearly. His eyes were observing Su Yan, but he couldn't see him clearly. In his eyes, Su Yen was like a piece of chaos, as if he didn't exist in this world. This unknown could even be understood as a future threat, causing the ancient ancestor of the ancestral hall to be filled with killing intent. Even if he couldn't suppress him, he had to destroy him. Ah! Su Yen roared angrily. Just the aura of the supreme expert was extremely difficult for him to withstand. The 5 elements sword diagram that revolved around him exploded. The furnace of heaven and earth was wailing. What could stop him? Even if he used the dragon totem, it wouldn't be able to threaten an almighty. Just as everything was about to engulf Su Yen, at the end of the universe, endless majesty spread out. It was a person who seemed to be sitting cross-legged in a celestial palace. The majesty of the sovereign Tao was vast and mighty, sweeping through all directions. He ruled millions of territories and commanded gods and demons as he looked down on the universe. He was terrifying to the extreme. When he truly recovered, his divine aura covered the vast universe. His magic power pierced through the sea of stars. His words were like laws. His syllables shook heaven and earth, causing people's souls to tremble. The Ancestral Hall's supreme expert is targeting a junior. Have you forgotten the pain of cultivation? The majestic voice was like 100,000 bells exploding, resounding in the outer space. Moreover, the figure walked towards the blood realm with a majestic gait. His body was incomparably tall, and his words affected the universe. The boundless sovereign Tao's power cut off the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestors' power. Imperial Lord! All heaven turned pale with fright. What? Daluo Imperial Lord! The whole place was in an uproar. This matter was boundless. The Daluo dynasty was a peak clan that ruled millions of territories and commanded the 10 major clans in the universe. The Imperial Lord was the leader of the Daluo dynasty, a supreme existence. Now, he actually made a move to stop the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor. Even the Feng family's supreme expert was moved. Why would the Daluo Imperial Lord stop the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor? The two forces basically didn't have any conflict. The Imperial Lord is mighty. Luo Huaqing screamed in excitement. Even she had only seen the Daluo Imperial Emperor from afar when she was conferred the title of Little Princess. Now, he had really come and swept across the land. There wasn't a single god or devil that didn't submit to him. Many old antiques turned pale. The Daluo Imperial Lord was a legend of his generation. He wasn't famous when he was young, but he became a late bloomer and ascended to the position of Imperial Lord. In fact, neither All Heaven nor Emperor Nan belonged to the Daluo Imperial Lord's bloodline. You want to block my path? The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor was slightly angry, but it was a scene of mountains collapsing and seas splitting. Under the wrath of such an existence, millions of corpses would fall. To settle a matter of karma. The Daluo Imperial Lord's words shocked many. This clan was related to the Burial Regent's clan? Could there be some relationship between the two clans? Meanwhile, All Heaven was thinking. Could it be that the Daluo Imperial Lord was doing this because of him? Was it to settle the karma between him and Su Yen? But no matter what, the Daluo Imperial Lord wanted to protect Su Yen. Could it be that supreme experts would fight to the death, rumble? However, no one would have thought that things would develop to such a serious state. A boundless and terrifying killing intent was released, shaking the mountains and rivers. Moreover, the entire starry sky turned gloomy and headed towards destruction. Supreme experts are fighting to the death. Everyone was afraid. This was a terrifying collision that caused the starry sky to collapse. In the blood region, peerless killing intent rippled. This was the collision of two giants. It could be said that two ancient universes had collided. The momentum shook the heavens. Many experts were shaken to the point that their chi and blood were in turmoil, and they vomited blood. The experts present frantically retreated, fearing that they would be affected. Let's go. Su Yen grabbed the heavily injured Luo Dali with lightning speed. If he didn't leave now, when would he? Although he didn't know why the Daluo Imperial Lord wanted to help him, the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor was blocked. He couldn't kill his way to Su Yen in a short time. We can't let him go. Zhu Jingtian and the other two Divine King chased after him. Unfortunately, the Daluo Imperial Lord's three Divine Kings directly stood out and brazenly attacked. He shouted angrily, "Use your Supreme Expert's sacred weapons to block them. Bastard!" The two Divine Kings of the Ancestral Hall were furious. Since the Daluo Imperial Lord had made his move, they didn't need to be afraid of anything. They directly stood out to block the two Divine Kings of the Ancestral Hall. Even the old Grandmaster of the Han family was blocked by the Supreme Expert's sacred weapons of the martial clan once again. Su Yen left the battlefield as fast as lightning. But just as he was about to reach the end of the horizon, lightning flashed in front of him. The scene was monstrous. It was like real lightning, one after another. There were millions of lightning bolts, rippling with all kinds of destructive waves. Many people were dumbfounded. Another person rushed out to block Su Yen. Was this really fate? Was Su Yen destined to not be able to escape? A Divine King blocked the way, and the Divine King released his domain. It was a world of lightning. Does the Divine Firmament sect have a grudge with the Burial Realm? Many people were stunned. It was definitely the Divine Firmament sect's Divine King who had walked out to block Su Yen. This was a silver-robed old man standing in the lightning domain. He smiled at Su Yen and said, "You saved my clan's King Flash, so I specially sent you the supreme-grade chaotic origin energy to remove karma for King Flash. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Come here, I'll give you the supreme-grade chaotic origin energy." "You old fogey!" Su Yan's eyes widened in anger. He suddenly turned around and looked at King Flash. "King Flash, you ungrateful dog. You're not fit to be a human." King Flash's face darkened and he didn't say anything. He really didn't expect the Divine Firmament sect to block Su Yen. He didn't say a word in the face of Su Yan's scolding. Luo Tiando was also furious. If not for Su Yen, King Flash would have been a mummy. Although they said they were here to deliver the supreme-grade chaotic origin energy, they were actually blocking Su Yan's path. How could the old Grandmaster of the Han family be useless? A Supreme Expert's sacred weapon couldn't stop him for long. He was about to break through the martial clan's blockade and kill Su Yen. "Young friend, I have supreme-grade chaotic origin energy here. Why don't you come and take it?" The Divine Firmament sect's Divine King smiled. He really took out streaks of supreme-grade chaotic origin energy and waved at Su Yen. "Hurry up and take the treasure. I'm really here to remove karma." Su Yen only paused for a moment. He went berserk in an instant. Why would he be afraid of a Divine King? It's not like he hadn't killed a Divine King before. Chapter 848. The silver-robed old man smiled. His name was Lei Yuan, and he was one of King Flash's protectors. He was also the Grand Elder of the Divine Firmament Star Zone. There was a sinister smile on his face, as if he was certain that he could defeat Su Yen. His face began to turn ferocious. "It's really not my fault." The Lightning King felt helpless. Although he once hated Su Yen and had the intention to kill him, Su Yen had saved his life on the blood altar. The Lightning King would not go so far as to kick him while he was down at this juncture. However, Lei Yuan was different. It was because of his favorite granddaughter, Lei Yuguang. This person had been killed by Su Yen on the Big Dipper. Perhaps Su Yen had long forgotten about Lei Yuguang and the other prodigy, but Su Yen had killed Lei Yuguang's favorite grandson. At this juncture, how could Lei Yuan let Su Yen go? He had not only ended King Flash's karma. This Su Yen, why does he have so many enemies? All sorts of monsters have jumped out. What should we do? Luo Huaqing was very anxious. The Daluo Overlord had blocked the ancestor of the Ancestral Hall to end their grudge. However, it was impossible to provoke the divine firmament star zone. Even if the Marshall clan wanted to help, the Han family's grandmaster was not easy to deal with. Even if they had the Almighty's sacred weapon, they could not trap a grandmaster of the occult sect for long. The problem was that this grandmaster was an expert at the peak of the divine king's domain. With all kinds of means, his combat strength was close to that of a half-almighty. I see. Wu Hing suddenly remembered something. Back then, Lei Yuguang and Shui Guan had joined forces to deal with Su Yan. Su Yan had killed Lei Yuguang in the reincarnation pool. This gave Wu Hing a headache. Why did this old rabbit only jump out now, and even obstruct Su Yan at the most critical moment? The Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor had arrived, and if he delayed any longer, the Ancestral Hall's experts would probably come to kill him. So it was Su Yan who saved them. The experts of the various major forces were discussing among themselves. They had finally found the main culprit. Originally, it was Su Yan who had rescued King Flash and Luo Tiandu. They had never imagined such an ending. In fact, the reason why the old grandmaster of the Han family was targeting Su Yan was probably because of the Chiman chapter that he had mastered. What? Aren't you going to come and get it? The strands of supreme-grade origin energy also floated in Lei Yuan's palm. His old face was like a blooming chrysanthemum, full of smiles. The Lightning Will had originally wanted to stop Su Yan after he had taken away the peak-grade source chi. It had wanted to stop Su Yan. This way, not only would he be able to take revenge, but it would also be enough to improve the relationship between the Divine Firmament sect and the Ancestral Hall. The Divine Firmament sect was ranked at the bottom of the top few among the peak factions. If he could establish a deep relationship with the Ancestral Hall, it would also be greatly beneficial to the Divine Firmament sect. Swoosh! Suddenly, Lei Yuan's face darkened in the face of Su Yan's sudden charge. He knew that Su Yan had once killed the Divine King and even killed Zhu Fu in the Corpse Blood Sea with a single punch. However, Lei Yuan was only wary for a moment before he sneered. If you really had a trump card, you would have used it earlier. Why wait until now? Don't worry, I won't kill you. I will only obstruct you. You won't be able to escape. Old man, give me your life. Just as he was about to reach Lei Yuan, Su Yan's eyes shone with a fierce light. It was as if a sleeping dragon had awakened. His entire body released a monstrous divine light as he gathered the strongest power in his body and penetrated his arms. This abnormal power was enough to make even heavenly gods tremble. It faintly seemed like it could collapse the sea of stars. Your power is very strong. What a pity. With just this bit of power, don't try to show off in front of me. Lei Yuan's aura suddenly soared to the peak level. Tens of thousands of dazzling silver lightning emerged from his pores. He was like the source of the sea of lightning, releasing the Divine King's domain. Tens of thousands of lightning streaked across the sky, forming a vast world of lightning. Lei Yuan's aura also soared to the peak level. A boundless shadow appeared behind him. The ancient lightning beast floating in the chaos glowed, enriching the power of the Divine King that could destroy the world. Some people were dumbfounded. This Lei Yuan was really paying too much attention to Su Yan. F***ck, the Divine King was actually standing at the peak level while fighting with a deity. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. The road ahead is cut off. Stop here. Lei Yuan angrily laughed at Su Yan. Don't you want the top-grade origin energy? It's mine. I'll take it myself. I don't need you to remind me. Su Yan let out an explosive roar. All of a sudden, the spectators' eyes were about to be blinded. Strands of unusually ferocious airflow spread out. It was as if a black ocean had exploded. A dark storm overflowed. Behind Su Yan, a huge shadow appeared. It was even more magnificent than a mountain ridge. It was black and filled with the extremely violent source of the Divine King's power. Everyone was overwhelmed with shock. What were they looking at? A divine king appeared behind Su Yan and directly burned the source of his life. He released the most powerful energy and rushed toward Lei Yuan. Some people were dumbfounded. A divine king had just been born, and he had already sacrificed his life. Brother, Lei Yuan was stunned. Then, he was terrified. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He was almost cursing. What did I do to provoke you? You sacrificed your life and burned all the energy of the divine king to deal with me. Lei Yuan felt a headache coming on. He cursed in his heart. Why did he stand out? Why did he provoke this madman? The divine king was willing to die to open a door for Su Yan to escape. This was something that Lei Yuan could not understand. He probably would not have thought that the divine king's bodyguard was Su Yan's servant. Rumble! Everything happened too quickly. When the tide of darkness appeared, the crisscrossing lightning domain of the divine king collapsed in an instant. The turbulent tide of darkness also hit Lei Yuan. This was a divine king who had sacrificed his life. The power he emitted was quite abnormal. It made Lei Yuan vomit blood and howl miserably. His originally powerful aura quickly weakened, however. The situation was a little unexpected. This divine king who had sacrificed his life did not seem to be very strong. He did not beat Lei Yuan to the ground. Instead, he was still gasping for breath. Ha ha ha! This made Lei Yuan laugh in anger. He had actually killed a divine king. Laugh your mother! Su Yan's eyes were like lightning. The furnace of heaven and earth came down in an instant. It recovered to its strongest state. This copper furnace quickly enlarged. It was like a sea of fire had appeared in the world. It smashed fiercely toward the heavily injured Lei Yuan. The furnace of heaven and earth. Lei Yuan's expression changed. The power of this copper furnace was beyond his expectations. The remaining blood essence in his body began to dry up. The furnace of heaven and earth hit him so hard that he staggered. The terrifying power suppressed the divine king's body and caused cracks to appear. Damn it, can't I stop you? Lei Yuan roared angrily. He exploded with the strongest power of the divine king to overturn the furnace of heaven and earth. But just as he said this, he was really cursing. This was because Su Yan had taken out another holy item. The Great Path Immortal Pearl was struck out by Su Yan. It scattered the light of the Great Path, sacred and terrifying. The people around were dumbfounded. Su Yan had too many protective treasures. The divine king's bodyguard sacrificed his life. The furnace of heaven and earth hit Lei Yuan until his body cracked. When the Great Path Immortal Pearl recovered, it directly suppressed Lei Yuan's skin and flesh. He screamed. His charred body was full of holes. He was miserable like a ghost. His hair was disheveled. More than half of the divine king's life source had collapsed. 7 or 8 of his teeth had fallen out and half of his face had collapsed. His entire face was no longer recognizable. His eyes were filled with bitterness and resentment. He was almost crippled. This made him mad with hatred. He let out a long and mournful cry. Bastard Su Yan, you can't kill me. You can't kill me. He still had power. The broken body of the divine king was burning. Although it had declined to the extreme, a divine king on the verge of death could not be ignored. Old man, I have paid the price. Do you think you are stronger than Zhu Fu? Su Yan took large steps forward. His eyes were full of murderous intent. He wanted to kill the divine king. Little bastard, even if I am seriously injured, I am not someone you can kill. Lei Yuan resisted the pain in his body and crawled up. His blood-stained palm glowed. All kinds of lightning surged. Its destructive power was astonishing. It could easily slap a top deity to death. So what if you are the divine king? If you block my path, I will kill you all the same. Su Yan's hair danced wildly like a waterfall. His majestic appearance shocked the world. His robust body surged with the divine power of the great Tao. He was like a war god that carried the heavens on his back. Awakening 1. His entire fist glowed. An extremely mysterious power emerged, affecting the universe. Lei Yuan's eyes widened. It was as if he could see a figure standing tall in time and space, commanding the world and changing the world. This scene terrified him. He had escaped into a terrifying field. The moment his damaged divine king's power trembled, he discovered that he had entered boundless darkness. His divine King Dao fruit had lost its effects. How is this possible? Lei Yuan lost control and roared. He felt that this was inconceivable. How could this be? His divine King Dao fruit had disappeared. Could it be that his cultivation had been weakened? Although he had comprehended a kind of extreme realm of darkness, with Lei Yuan's current strength, it was extremely difficult to split it open. His current injuries were too severe, which caused Lei Yuan to fall into a state of panic. What kind of absolute art was this? How could it have such a strong influence? In a short period of time, Lei Yuan thought of something and roared uncontrollably. The initial fist, the lost initial fist. You have mastered the initial fist. How is this possible? The legendary most powerful technique in history, the initial fist. The secret technique that Su Yan had used was too similar to the characteristics of the initial fist. He wanted to roar and tell the world that Su Yan had mastered the initial fist. After all, once this fist technique was used, there might be hope for him to kill a supreme being and slaughter a young giant. Unfortunately, no matter how loud his voice was, the people around him could not hear him clearly. The world had been smashed full of holes by Su Yan's fist. Everything was shattered. Everything had exploded. Boom! Su Yan's fist blasted through Lei Yuan's palm. He gathered his strongest strength and smashed Lei Yuan's entire body into pieces. Pfft! Su Yan coughed up a mouthful of blood. Although he had suppressed Lei Yuan's divine king power, the rebound force had also sent Su Yan flying. His fist bones began to crack. But Lei Yuan's body was in pieces. He let out a terrified howl. This was the initial fist. His heavily injured divine king body could not break free from the field. This was a contest of pure physical strength. The heavily injured divine king's body was blasted apart by Su Yan.